Hello, guys. Just give me a sec. Wait, can you hear music? Has music not been playing? Has music not been playing for you guys? Or is it just me? You know, I've had music going this entire time and you guys haven't heard it. Okay, we'll enjoy it for like 2 minutes, okay? No music? Oh, you guys. I am a hostess who never comes in without music. You gotta yell at me next time. Just me and my thoughts? Oh my god. Hold on. I'm quickly posting on Instagram, is that okay? And then y'all have my full undivided attention. Oh, that's my voice. That's obnoxious. Okay. Alright, last thing I'm gonna do before we totally go off the rails is I'm just gonna post on Discord. Let me log into the right account. The music got super intense. We're gonna chit chat for a little bit, so I'm gonna put on some soothing relaxation, but we're gonna turn it down a lot. Okay, there we go. Alright. This is really far from me. This is not gonna work. Okay. Right. Not my voice, disgusting. Nope. Nope. There we go. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me fix something. You guys are going to see some magic happening really quick. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Hi, guys. So I didn't fix my lighting, so I'm going to fix my lighting really quick. But how are you guys doing? Hello, hello. We're gonna do some fancy lighting fixing really quick. We're gonna do that, and then we'll not make me look so yellow. Okay, I think that's a little better. When you're super pale like me, you never know what's good lighting. Also, I am wearing a shirt. It didn't look like it for a second, but I am. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I have my wine right here. We might need to refill. I don't know. We're going to find out. It'll be fun. We're going to experience this together. But I'm really excited to do this. This is something that I asked you guys. I was like, hey, what type of lives do you want to see? And you guys said you wanted to see some React lives, which I love doing. For those of you that don't know, I have been like an avid YouTube type person, like on the internet for a very long time. So I have like a stupid amount of knowledge when it comes to the internet. And I love this type of stuff. I probably watch YouTube videos more than I watch like Netflix or anything else. So like, we're right up my alley. And let me give you some context into what we're about to watch for anyone who has no idea. So this girl, I think her name's Cari Cari. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But anyways, she's really big on YouTube. She has quite a few YouTube channels, I've learned. She's based in South Korea, which is really cool as well. And she started doing these videos where it's like, here's the entire plot, so you don't have to read 500 pages. And I kept getting this video recommended to me on YouTube. And I was like, it's 2 hours long. Let's watch it together. So I was like, we're going to watch it together because I will be honest with you, it's been a minute since I've reread ACOTAR, but I do have a pretty good memory of it. I don't have my ACOTAR book with me. I actually have it in the office because it's heavily tabbed and everyone wanted to see what it looked like. So I don't have it with me, but we're going to watch this together. She is going to, it's a 2-hour video. We'll probably speed through quite a bit of it, but she's going to go through this entire thing. I think it's going to be funny. It seems funny. I promise you when I tell you I have not watched this. So this is going to be a lot of have fun. We're gonna have some good fun together. Get your alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages, whatever you choose, next to you. And we're just going to sit down and watch this fun little YouTube video. So the only other thing I was going to say is we have the Kingdom of Ash live tomorrow. I will be honest with you and tell you that I'm only through part 1. So there's a high probability it could get moved to Friday if I don't have enough time to finish part 2. Although I did kind of get through some chapters pretty quickly. So you guys will know by the morning. That's what I'll say. So, okay, you guys ready? Let's do this. Let me turn off the music. All right, let me get this Let me get this all set up so you guys can see it. Everyone can see.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
Can you hear? Can you hear her speak? Just let me know. I'll wait. I watched all her recaps. I'm excited. I think this is going to be fun. I'm gonna enjoy this. I will tell you, I remember some things very well with ACOTAR and then other things I don't. So we'll see how well we do this. Okay, we're ready? All right, let's go.
To another plot summary video. My name is Cari. Thank you for being here.
Okay, this is Cari. Hold on. I need to take a second and soak in all of these photos really quick. Okay, so she has Isaac, which I'm dying laughing at the photo at the top. So she has Isaac up here. I'll get to the 3 right here. Okay, Dad, good depiction. That's kind of what I imagined. So yes. Alice, I love this. I don't know if anyone else struggles with this, but I always forget that Alice is a tree. Like, she technically looks like a tree. Oh, wait, you guys can't see it. Hold on. I'm going to move my face really quick so you guys can see all these. Okay. I forget that Alice looks like a tree. Actually, I should probably just go right here. I'll go right here so you guys can see all of it. I'll do that. Okay. I forgot that Alice looks like a tree, and it's something I always forget, so I love this. Okay, then we have Mysterious Hottie. I wonder who this is, because she has Isaac up here. It's not Tamlin, and it's not... I'm curious who the Mysterious Hottie is. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, okay. The Night Court ladies. This must be Nuala and Carradine. Okay, love that. Love the vibes. I imagine them more like, not fairy godmothers, but like, I don't know how to describe it. They're very like wispy looking in my mind. Okay, the Rhysand is perfect. That is actually a Rhysand photo. The surreal one is amazing. I love that. That's perfect. Lucian, that does look like Lucian, so that's good. The Tamlin one is the Tamlin one. The Adder... That's amazing. Okay. And then the Amarantha one's pretty good. I could be wrong, but I think that actually might be a photo of Maeve. Also, I'm pretty sure this Mysterious Hottie photo is either the original or it's the edited version of Dorian. I don't know which one it is, but that's funny. Okay, now I got to look at these Archerons. Okay, Farah, perfect. That's exactly how at least how I imagine Farah. Elaine, wow, that's going to piss some people off, but I mean, also not wrong, let's be honest. And Nesta, as a Nesta stan, I can confirm that is Nesta in this book. Okay, let's continue.
Today we are going to be focusing on A Court of Thorns and Roses. Full disclaimer here.
Wait, is this supposed to be Tamlin appears the Beast as well? Okay, sorry.
Crescent City, if you have come here from watching my plot summary for Crescent City, that series is absolutely nuts. A lot of people in the comments compared it to like Riverdale. It is very much inspired.
What? No. Riverdale? Like the TV show? She's not talking about the TV show, right? Okay, I'll keep going.
Inspired by like reality TV and stuff like that. The story is bonkers in such a fun way, and so making that video, it was very easy to like laugh and make fun of it all. Even though like I genuinely had a fun time reading it, even though it was like a mess. ACOTAR is a little bit different because it's...
Ooh, interesting. She thinks it's a mess. Okay, we're going to do this again when we get to Crescent City.
Starts off quite sincere, I think, in that she was writing a fantasy. She wasn't trying to write kind of like the shit show.
Has she done this for Throne of Glass? There's no... Just let me know.
That Crescent City is. This is still going to be fun. but I think it's going to be just a little bit different. This is also very inspired by fairy tales, especially Beauty and the Beast.
It is.
I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I liked ACOTAR.
How many of you guys know that Throne of Glass is technically a Cinderella retelling? Like, Throne of Glass is a Cinderella retelling. ACOTAR is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Also hating some Persephone. And then Crescent City is Zootopia. Sorry, Sarah.
The first time, maybe even the second time that I read it, I was kind of new getting back into fantasy. I know that like it's fun to make fun of it, and I know that it does sincerely have problems, but I'm not going to, this isn't going to be a roast. Like, I'm just going to tell you the plot, and you can decide how you
Wait, girl, roast it. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
about it. Thank you again to the artist that lent me their work. They will be
Ooh, okay. Okay. Well, we know Dominique and we know Gwendolyn. Okay.
linked down below. But before I start, I am going to let my neighbors finish drilling whatever they're drilling into my wall.
Can I tell you, me and her could be friends. Sorry.
And in the meantime, I'm going to give you guys a message from our sponsors.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you would like to start an online
My website
presence,
is
whether that
Squarespace, for
through
anyone wondering.
A website, a shop, a blog. Squarespace is there to help you with wonderful templates to even create your website, following it up with
It is actually pretty great.
analytics, different features like
I do
comment
look at this pretty
sections,
regularly.
or adding membership only zones to your website.
We've
It has
considered
great
the
tools for
membership only.
monetization if you're opening a shop. So if you want to try it out and just see what you can make with their features, you can go right now to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Cari can read for 10% off of your first
Okay, not to like diss on her, but like definitely just keep an eye on Squarespace because they make some great deals. I think I got mine like 30% off, so.
website or domain.
Just
All
wanna
of that
say that.
information will be down below, and let's get back to the plot.
Oh, I'm
Our
so
story
excited.
begins in the forest, described as a labyrinth of snow and ice. And our girl Feyre is hunting. Feyre's family is
Wait, props to her for putting the handles at the bottom. If it was me, because I'm lazy, I would have just done the big screenshot and then tagged them all below. So like, props
starving. We'll learn more about it in a little bit. And she
Okay.
is the only one in the family who is able to provide for them. But because it's winter, there aren't any animals. So she has to keep going deeper and deeper into the forest, which is obviously a pain because it's winter, but also it's dangerous because she's getting closer and closer to the border between the mortal and the fairy realms.
Yes.
And we know from the get-go that fairies are not good. Feyre, luckily, has never witnessed it, but there have definitely been stories in their town of people being kidnapped, people being killed. She is like, I don't want to go anywhere near that border if I can help it. But she's also like, we finished our last piece of bread yesterday. We're all going to starve. So let's get to it. She finds a stream and she decides, I'm going to just sit here because chances are an animal is going to come and want to drink. And pretty immediately, luckily for her, sees a deer. But that's not all she sees. In the bushes, there are these glowing golden eyes. And she's like, no, I don't like that. What comes out of the bush is a wolf, which is scary, but scarier that the wolf is like 10 times the size of what a wolf should be.
Yes.
And immediately, Feyre is like, fairy.
Hold on a second. 10 times the size of what a wolf should be. Just quick note. I don't know if Avery's watching or if anyone cares. We should probably look and see what size Danica is, you know? Anyways, keep going.
Fairy. She's in a position where it's like, the only thing I can do is try to kill it or it kills me. Luckily for her, she has some ash wood arrows, and ash is one of the things that can hurt fairies. She doesn't even hesitate. She just like gets ready, shoots the wolf twice just to make sure, once in the eyeball, I think, and the wolf dies. And it doesn't transform. She kind of was like, if it's a fairy, it would go back to its original form.
That's
right?
fair.
So when it doesn't transform, she's like, okay, that was just a weird ass wolf. Gotcha. And she also kills the deer. Because she's by herself,
I totally forgot she does kill the deer. I really forgot about that.
she can't bring two giant animals all the way through the woods back to her home. So she ends up taking the full deer and then just skinning the wolf because she figures, I can sell its fur at the market or something.
Wait, I'm just realizing how funny this is. years later, when she's telling, sorry, spoilers for like the ACOTAR series, when she's telling like Reese and Cassie, and they're like, hold on, you skinned the Fae? Like in the fort? Okay.
Something like that. And
that's funny. That's a funny Valeris moment.
And she does feel remorse for killing, especially the wolf, because it was like such a beautiful creature. But as she said, it is the forest and it is winter.
Yes.
Feyre gets home, and this is where we get some insight into her family. And
yes.
On the one hand, the fan art for her sisters contains spoilers, like every single one that I could find.
Wait, do they? Do they? I feel like you can find Nesta ones and be fine. And the same thing for Elaine. I don't think they do.
But also, I feel like these are very accurate representations of them. So
she's clearly not on Book Talk because they would not be appreciative of that Elaine one.
Oh,
just saying.
We meet her sisters, Nesta
the ears. That's a good point.
Elaine. And then she has her father. Her father used to be a merchant. They used to be like very well off. He got kind of wrapped up, bad luck, scam, etc. And he lost everything. So now they're living in poverty because he also can't get any work because there were debt collectors that came and brutally assaulted him, and now his leg is like permanently damaged, and so he can barely walk. He's just talked about with a lot of pity but also just a lot of hate because his daughters are like, you were supposed to take care of us, right? He's a complicated figure, the dad. And Nesta and Elaine, I wouldn't call them like evil stepsister-esque, but they're definitely like the older sisters, and they're very used to living kind of the yuppie life. So they don't know how to do anything, and they don't want to learn, and they just figure that Feyre's good at it, so like she can do it. Why should we go hunting when Feyre's better, kind of thing. It wasn't that Elaine was cruel. She wasn't like Nesta, who had been born with a sneer on her face. Elaine just sometimes didn't grasp things.
Oh my god, please tell me Book Talk has seen that. Oh my god, can I send that to like every L reel I know? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I should rein in my snarky. Just for context, today has been a roughish day. So my Aelin fighting in the pits in Queen of Shadows personality is very high right now. So in case anyone's wondering, the snarky comments are high. The other thing I want to point out, and I don't know if she's going to bring it up, but one of the reasons Feyre hunts is because her mother told her. Her mother indicated to Feyre that you have to take care of the family. And so Feyre feels an obligation. I don't know if she's going to bring that up, but that is one of the main reasons.
It wasn't meanness that kept her from offering to help. It simply never occurred to her that she might be capable of getting her hands dirty. Elaine...
Wait, hold on. But Elaine, I mean, it's true. She's reading from the text, but like Elaine does like to get her hands dirty. She won't accept Lucian's gloves. Anyways.
Is kind of like aloof, but Nesta's like straight up just a pill. She's just mean. When Feyre comes home, she just had been hunting all day, and Nesta's first reaction, first of all, they like didn't even notice she was really gone. They don't seem worried, but Nesta's first reaction is like, ew, you stink. And of course, for Feyre to take a bath, she needs hot water, but there's no firewood to warm the water because Nesta didn't do it. Go chop firewood because it makes her hands hard. We also learn...
Oh my god, can we please, if this was real, I would love to send this to the inner circle to have them watch, because I can just see Cassian right now being like, you couldn't chop wood?
That their mother wasn't the greatest either. She seemed to really love their father, but she just really loved partying and her friends. She wasn't really a loving, present mother. When she passed away, she died of some illness. When Feyre was 8 years old, she calls Feyre, the youngest daughter, to her deathbed and is like, Feyre, I need you to make me a promise. I need you, the sisters, to stay together. Like that's your job. I'll message the sisters and protect them. And in this world, promises are like laws. So Feyre, even though she very well could just like leave the cottage because she actually has like skills she could use in the world to support herself, she is stuck there caring for the family. The next day, the sisters head to town to sell the wolf fur. And to his credit, the dad, when he saw the wolf fur, he was kind of like, that was too much of a risk. Like, he clearly does care about Feyre, but
he's
like,
the only
according
one.
to Feyre, it's not enough, you know?
Well, to be fair, Nesta does too. I should give Nesta credit, and I guess, you know, So does Elaine.
They're heading into town and they run into these people called Children of the Blessed, who aren't very important in this book, but maybe you should pay attention to them. I honestly forget. They're humans, but they're like Fae obsessed. They're kind of these cult members, and they want to return to the time when Fae ruled humans. And
it kind of reminds me a little bit of people who are obsessed with another type of being in another book series that made creatures with wings.
Give you another little quote here for some history. Once, long ago, and for millennia before that, we had been slaves to the high Fae overlords. Once we had rebelled. The war had been so bloody, so destructive.
Anyone who's read House of Sky and Breath, pay attention right freaking now.
That it took 6 mortal queens crafting the treaty for the slaughter to cease on both sides, and for the wall to be constructed. So yeah, if you look at a map of the world, it is very clearly the United Kingdom and Ireland.
Yes.
And maybe a bit of France.
Yes.
Think of it as Ireland, Fae, Scotland, and most of England and Wales, Fae. And then like the bottom bits of England would be mortal, and then France is mortal. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
They are living kind of at the southern tip of England. Right. But they live right at the border. But they're still really scared of the Fae, so everybody wears a little bit of iron on them. The mortals are still living in fear. Nothing really happens when they go to the village.
I wonder why the mortals wear iron. I don't know any Fae who are immune to iron.
She does manage to sell the wolf hide to this nice lady. We also get semi-introduced to Isaac, which is basically Feyre's booty call. There is like no love between them, but you know, they're late teens. Gotta do what you gotta do. I think he has just been arranged in a marriage, and so this is kind of them saying goodbye. They kind of see each other in the market and they're just like, Isaac isn't here often, but seems like an okay dude. Now we're back at the house, and because Feyre made like a little bit of extra money from the wolf stuff, she gave her sisters money and they got to like shop or whatever, so they're kind of in a good mood. So Nesta even goes and chops wood. It's like domestic bliss for a second in the cottage. That is until their door is broken down and a giant growling shape is standing there. So this thing is described as having... And I forget this. Every time I read it, I forget it until I read this singular sentence. But this is how the beast looks, all right? The size of a horse, the body of a cat, the head of a wolf, but with antlers. How did it get through the door?
Wait, it has antlers? Hold on. The body of a horse, the size of a horse, the body of a cat. I just thought he was always looking like a cat. The head of a wolf. I did remember the wolf thing, but the antlers? Does anyone ever draw it with antlers? Tamlin has antlers? Why does Tamlin have antlers? Why does he need that? Why are you shape-shifting that, Tamlin? What do you need antlers for?
And this beast is pissed. Feyre, without even thinking, has like a little knife and like jumps in front of her family and is like, rah! And this thing is screaming like, you murderer! Like he's really upset. And Feyre is like, okay, this thing can talk. It is Fae. We are in deep shit. If it like obviously, but he just keeps screaming like, you murderers, you evil people, whatever. And Feyre is like, we didn't kill anyone, but let me try and kill you. And she like lunges with her little knife and tries to kill the beast. Obviously the beast stops her, but key point, he doesn't kill her. He very easily could have just been like schwamp, but he didn't. So it means he wants to talk. So Feyre finally is like, okay, yes, knife didn't work, let's have a chat. Who did I kill? And the beast is like, the wolf. And she's like, oh okay, I did do that. To her credit, Feyre owns up to it pretty much immediately. Yes. And she's like, why was that a big deal? And the beast is like, that wasn't a wolf. That was my friend. It was a fae. And she's like, well, I obviously didn't know that or else I wouldn't have killed it.
What was his name?
But like, oops, I sold his skin today at the market. So like, what are we gonna do here? Like, what? Yeah. What's the next step? And the beast is like, didn't y'all read the treaty? Apparently, in that peace treaty that we talked about that like separated the mortals and the Fey realms, right? In that treaty, there is a clause in which if a human attacks a Fey unprovoked, because remember, the wolf was just there. He didn't like lunge at her or anything. She killed him even before he really saw her. If a human kills a fae unprovoked, it's like an eye for an eye kind of thing. So the fae gets to take the human's life. And Feyre is just kind of like, all right, just kill me outside. Let's not get the cottage dirty. And the beast kind of laughs at her and is like, for having the nerve to request where I slaughter you, I'll let you in on a secret, human. Prythian, which is the Fae realm, Prythian must claim your life in some way for the life you took from it. So as representative of the immortal realm, I can either gut you like swine or...
Wait, I'm sorry. Did he call himself a representative of the immortal realm? I mean, it technically, sure.
You can cross the wall and live out the remainder of your days in Prythian.
This is why I skipped to just chapter 20.
Let me think about that for a second. Let me make this clear for you, girl. You can either come live at my house in Prythian, offer your life for the wolves in that way, or you can walk outside right now and be shredded to ribbons. Your choice. Feyre chooses the not being shredded to ribbons option, and the beast is like, okay, cool, let's go. Feyre's like, oh, okay. And she basically gives them a quick rundown of how to survive.
Yeah,
She's
literally in like 2
this is how
seconds.
you divvy up the deer meat, and this is how you do one of these things. And like, also Nesta, the guy that you're dating, is like totally abusive, so don't marry him because just don't. And then she's just gone. Like, the beast just puts her on a horse and he walks alongside, and here our story begins. So obviously Feyre is planning on making a run for it. She does not plan on living in Prythian. She knows that if she does live there, the Fae will kill her. Like, maybe not this beast one right away, but like, Fae are really tricky. They're always...
Didn't Lucian write that what Tamlin... Yeah, Lucian kind of helped him craft this, because if I remember correctly, this is all BS. There is no thing in the treaty about a life for life. Avery can correct me on that later, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't actually exist. It was literally for the sole purpose of this whole curse. But yeah, I think Lucian did craft it, because if I remember correctly, Lucian, and I think his name was Andreas, something like that. Lucian and him worked together to convince Tamlin to send him out. So Tamlin didn't want anything to do with this, which is obvious. And I think it was Lucian that was like, no, we kind of have to do this. And this would be the last time Tamlin ever listened to Lucian.
Really playful with their words. So the beast said that she had to live in Prythian, but he didn't say how. So she's like, I'm going to become like some slave, or I'm going to like live for eternity in a dungeon. So she's like, I'm going to run for it. But if she ran immediately, she knew that the beast would just turn around and kill her family. So she's like, all right, let's get away from the cottage, and then I'll make my big break. In the meantime, she is on the horse, and she decides maybe she can get some information out of him. So she just starts asking the beast all these questions like,
so what's your power? What's your name? Where are we going?
And he just like does some weird magic shit and knocks her out and makes her unconscious for like a while. She wakes up
for like 3 days.
All of a sudden it's spring. And remember, it was winter when she went to sleep. So she's like, he kept me asleep for months. No, it's not that bad. Because they crossed into
it was a few days
fairy
though.
realm, they entered one of the courts. And it will be described later, but all of the courts have like a different season, or, you know, something like that.
Or they're solar.
They must have crossed into the spring court, because all of a sudden it's like lovely flowers and grassy fields. She like comes to terms with the fact that she wasn't as...
Just a quick side note. I, no shocking to anyone, love flowers and all that stuff. So when she crossed over in the book, I was like, girl, why are you complaining? Let's just stay here. Even when she was like complaining about spring and Mist and Fury, I was like, I think it's just the guy ruling it, because I would live here rent free and I actually think I would be happier in spring than I would be in Valeris, which I know is a controversial opinion, but I could make it nice.
asleep for months, and so she's feeling okay. But then she checks that while she was asleep, he stole the knife that she had hidden away, and she's kind of like, yuck, he touched me in my sleep, and I now don't have a weapon. So like,
we should keep that yuck.
This. They go to a really beautiful manor house that has buttery daffodils and roses everywhere. This is where we learn Feyre's thing. Feyre likes to paint. Feyre's obsessed with colors. She is like itching to get her hands on some paint so that she can paint this house. Anyway, they go into the house and there is like a table filled with food.
Wait, can I just say, I'm sorry, I keep pausing it. I just need to say how much I love how the entire, hold on. Okay, well, I was trying to get her at a good angle. Okay, there we go. Well, there we go. I love how the entire fandom has differing opinions on Feyre's painting skills. It's either Caven's opinion, which is she's not good, or it's like other people's opinion, which is like she's an excellent painter. But regardless, we all have an opinion on the painting. Like, no one has an opinion on Aylin's piano skills, but everyone's got an opinion on the painting, which cracks me up all the time.
She can like dig in and forget herself. The beast sits down at the table with a groan, and in a snap, in a flash of white light, he becomes a golden-haired man. The beast was not a man, not a lesser fairy. He was one of the high fae, their ruling nobility, beautiful, lethal, and merciless. Okay, weirder still, he has a mask on.
Yes!
I did not do this. This is a major spoiler, but I didn't put his mask on because it's just disrespectful to the beautiful fan art. But just picture this man with a giant gold mask with like emerald
Not gonna lie to you, I forget he wears a mask every time. Unless she literally explains it, I'm like, oh, no mask. Even the first time I read it, no mask. Until there be random passages where they'd be like, I tried to grab the mask. And I'm like, oh, right. He's wearing a gold mask.
Leaves and stuff, so pretty much obscuring almost all of his face, right? She is just staring at him in silence. Meanwhile, he pops open a bottle of wine and takes a big old gulp as if he needed it. And so even though just a second ago, Feyre was like freaking out over how much food there was and she was really excited, again, she's like, Feyre, you're in the fairy realms. She refuses to eat.
Does she actually hate these books or are these entertainment? No, she doesn't hate them. She said at the very beginning that she actually did enjoy it, but she sees problems in it. So she doesn't hate him. She doesn't hate him. The mask thing is going to be weird. I'm telling you right now, the mask thing is going to be the controversial opinion. Let's not have the masks in the TV show. We don't have the masks in The Last of Us. We don't need the masks in ACOTAR. We don't. Okay? The masks were a very big, for anyone who's never, okay, hold on. Quick tangent. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Nope, wrong button. Okay, wait. Fudge, I keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Quick tangent. If you've never played the Last of Us video game, but you've read or you're watching the TV show, very, very, very quick tangent. Okay. So in the Last of Us video game, and this isn't a spoiler for the TV show, so if you haven't watched it, don't worry, I'm not spoiling anything major. I'm just explaining the zombie apocalypse part. Okay. So in the game, when the zombie apocalypse happens and we fast forward in time, we discover that the way you can get infected is through either a bite, which does happen in the TV show, or you enter a room where the spores are in the air. So one of the things you always have to do when you go into a room is you have to put literally like a hazmat mask on, because if you breathe in the air, you could potentially become infected. In the TV show, they got rid of the masks because it was stupid, and also it abstracts from the acting, which makes total sense. But some people think it's annoying because it essentially changed the actual real life fungus that the zombies are based off of in The Last of Us. Whatever. I think that's too nitpicky. You know what? Same thing for the ACOTAR masks. Let's get rid of them. That's all I'm saying. We don't need them. We don't need them. Let's get rid of them. Okay? Anyways.
Eat because you're not supposed to take food from fairies, right? Our like Beastie Boy says that it's okay, but she's kind of like, no, I'd really rather starve. It's okay. And
basically he does make her starve.
He's like, the gates are open to you, by the way. Like, you aren't our prisoner. You can leave and live anywhere in Prithian that you want to.
He wasn't serious.
And that sounds nice. Like, oh, yay.
She should have ran then. That was her way out. She should have just ran then. Feyre, that's when you should have left.
I'm free to roam, but Feyre's like, no matter where I go, fairies are going to want to, like, eat me. So why no? Like, so then another
No one
fairy
wants to eat
enters
her,
and he doesn't
but I get
notice
it. I
Feyre,
get it.
and he just walks straight over to Beastie Boy and he's like, what happened to Andress? And Andress was the name of their friend who was the wolf who
I was a
killed.
little
So
off.
He is this cute.
That is actually a hot picture of Lucian. Yeah, I would have picked Lucian.
Little redheaded fairy, and he's basically like,
Little? That's insulting. He's not little. Is he smaller than Tamlin? In my head, he's not.
like a human girl killed Andress. Are you serious? And he has one eye that's like golden and magical, and it like swivels around kind of like Mad Eye Moody. It kind of has a mind of its own, so it must have detected Feyre. And so all of a sudden he whips around and he's like, this girl killed Andress. Like, of all human girls, like this
The
girl?
reason we
Come
all
on.
read
And the Beastie Boy
ACOTAR
calls
or
a
reread
servant
it.
over and is like, can you just take her and bathe her, please? Like, get her out of here. As she's leaving,
Oh no, the picture of Nesta is perfect. It's the picture of Elaine that everyone's going to throw a fit over. I mean, Nesta is Regina George, let's be honest. She is. She embraces it.
she hears the fairy
Even down to the fact that she joined a sport at the very end and made friends with them.
whose name is Lucian. She overhears Lucian say,
Lucian.
dump the girl somewhere, kill her, I don't care. She's nothing but a burden here. She'd sooner put a knife in your back than talk to you or any of us. And then Beastie Boy says, no, not until we know for certain that there's no other way will we make a move. And as for the girl, she stays unharmed. Her life in that hovel was hell enough. And Feyre's kind of like, yay, I'm gonna be unharmed, but also like, ouch, overhearing someone like shit talk your shitty house. Doesn't feel good.
Poor
After
brother-in-law.
Feyre doesn't stink anymore, she goes back down to the dining room where we learn two things. Beastie Boy's name is Tamlin.
Oh, Lord.
And also, he is probably hundreds of years old. Anyway, Lucian is also there because Lucian
about the
is
same age as Reese.
always there. King of the third wheel. If I say Tamlin is around, assume Lucian is somewhere nearby. And this is where we get big, big Beauty and the Beast vibes. Feyre sits down, they give her some food, and they watched me.
Wait, I just love that that Lucian he is really good at the third wheel. Like, he is.
Too closely to be casual. Tamlin straightened a bit and said, you look better than before. Was that a compliment? I could have sworn Lucian gave Tamlin an encouraging nod. And your hair is clean? That sweet talk gets him nowhere because Tamlin ends up explaining to her, like, listen, you're free to go.
I'm so confused by this too. Like, bro, you do Calamine every year. How do you not know how to sweet talk a woman? You do. Like, he does. Technically, that's somewhat forced, but he does. Like, he's had some good lovey-dovey time, right? Anyways.
Wherever you want to. You don't need to earn your keep. Like, I'm not going to make you work in the kitchens or something. Like, just live in my
No, but
house.
you should probably
I
learn
don't
how to
give a
work
shit
the
what
kitchen,
you do.
Tamlin.
And Feyre is like, if you don't care, then can I just go home? Like, doesn't that make sense? And she's like, my family is going to die without me. And Tamlin is like, do you think I'm that horrible that I would leave your family who so clearly depend on you without any resources?
Yes.
He's like, they're taken care of.
Who the hell is Isaac? Isaac is Feyre's booty call. True story.
And Feyre is like, well, fairies can't lie. But she's also pissed. She's like, why didn't you tell me earlier? Like, I've spent the entire day scared that my family is dying currently. And he's like, would you have believed me? Like, do you even believe me now?
No.
And Feyre's just kind of like, wah, 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 wah. Like I said, Feyre is just kind of losing her mind. She assumes she's going to die any second. So she just decides to, like, get up from the table and run as if that would work. Tamlin immediately uses his magic or something to, like, sit her back in the chair, basically. And he's like, listen, girlie, I told you your family's taken care of. If you cross the wall, that ends. You will die and your family won't get all of the stuff that I have given them so that they can live comfortably. So now she's stuck because her whole life purpose is to take care of her family, but her family is taken care of only as long as she stays away from them. And she's just like, this logic, it's not clicking.
Yeah.
It's not clicking for her. So the only thing she can do is, like, sit there and eat. So she does that. As if the meal isn't already awkward enough, Lucian chimes in. I actually really love Lucien as a character. Just his actions.
We all do, until Mist and Fury.
Are described like he's always sitting there, leaning in, just being like.
You mean just like his father?
Watching everything go down. So Lucien's a fun character, I think. But anyway, Lucien pipes in and he's like, aren't you happy to be sitting with 2 hot fairies? Like, obviously, Faye are super forgot about this. So he's like, isn't this like a human dream, you know? Like 2 nice guys like us? He's like, do you have some human boy back home? And that is such a leading question. Oh my God. So she's like, well, I was close with this one guy. And Tamlin and Lucien kind of look at each other. And Tamlin's like, did you love him? Feyre says no. The boys share another weird-ass look, and through clenched teeth, Tamlin says, and do you love anyone else? And Feyre just starts laughing at them because this is so weird, and she's like, is that what you guys want to know about me? Like, you kidnapped me, and you just want to know about my love life?
Yes.
Like, are you guys cool? And so she just gets up and leaves, but as she's leaving, she can hear Lucien say something, and then she just hears Tamlin be like, shut up, and he cackles. So that went well for all parties involved. The next morning, we meet Alice, who is Feyre's lady-in-waiting. Alice seems to be relatively chill because Feyre set up a big old booby trap so that if someone were to open her door while she was asleep, it would like make a big noise and she would wake up. So she was hoping to wake up before anybody else so that she could disarm the trap. But Alice is an early bird, and Alice walks in and is like attacked by this thing. And she is just like, girl, did you think that was gonna stop a fairy? Like, what are you? Calm down. But she's also like, at least you've got some fight in you. Like, I appreciate that you're a firecracker. Because Feyre has like nothing to do, she just wanders around the house. She ends up seeing art on the walls, which she likes because she's a painter. And so she kind of stops and looks. And all of a sudden, she just hears someone go, you! And it's Tamlin, the boy with 0 person skills. Tamlin kind of recovers and he's like, would you like a tour of the house? And Feyre's just like, no. And then they get into one of their little fighting matches. They just start vaguely yelling at each other about like human.
It's true. I kind of, why did I ever like them together? They never had chemistry.
Versus Faye stuff when it is revealed that something is wrong with the magic in Prythian right now. That is why they, as well as Alice, by the way, everybody at the Spring Court is wearing masks 24/7. It's not just like a bad fashion choice. There was like some weird surge of magic. They were having a party. The magic messed up and now they're like cursed to wear the masks all the time. Lucien's, by the way, is in the shape of a fox. I would just like you to know whenever he's speaking, he is speaking through a fox mask, which I love. But yeah, Tamlin's basically like, there is some kind of sickness, some kind of blight that is spreading throughout Prythian. And so like, I've got shit to deal with. Can you like not be an annoying human? I know that I brought you here against your will, but can you like try to be nice? And that is why his buddy
reading this and knowing that there were actually people there the whole time. They were just glamored so she couldn't see them. It is. I wonder if they'll do that in the show. That's okay. There's certain choices in books that like obviously when you're reading you can kind of be like, yeah, that's funny, haha. But in a TV show, like that doesn't fly. That's one of those questionable choices.
Buddy Andress was shaped like a wolf and was in the mortal realm is because they were hoping that maybe there might be a cure or something in the mortal realm. And this sickness has been going on for 50 years.
48.
And then Tamlin very abruptly is just like, see you at dinner, and leaves. Okay? Like,
Tamlin sucks. We all know this.
Again, no people skills, but at least we got some information from him. Dinner is very boring. Feyre steals a knife, very slickly slides it up her sleeve. And then she just like starts asking weird questions about the Fae. And Tamlin is like, didn't your mom tell you about us? Like,
no, she didn't. She was worthless.
Apparently, moms are supposed to tell their children about what to look out for the Fae. I don't know. He brings up her mom, basically, and she's like, I don't know. My mom died when I was 8. And he actually seems like he's not awkward in this. He is like just very sincerely like, oh, I'm actually really sorry to hear that. Like, my bad. But Feyre's just like, whatever. I don't give a shit, and leaves. So they have had like not a one conversation that has ended well in any way, shape, or form so far. Feyre is still really set on escaping now that she has stolen her knife. And
Here we go.
She figures her best bet is to buddy up with Lucien, because he's like a dick, but he makes jokes. Like, he's very much still like, it'll just be easier if we just kill her, Tamlin. Like, can we please just kill Feyre? But at least he like giggles and stuff, so he seems like he could be swayed.
Like father, like son.
Right? She hears that Lucien is going to be at the stables, and so she decides that she's going to be at the stables too. But she is intercepted by Tamlin, who is like, hey, how about that tour? Do you want to see the garden?
It's true.
And Feyre is like, honestly, like, I would really like to be alone today, Tamlin. And he's like, okay, and leaves.
Yeah.
Feyre heads to the stables to find...
He's really bad at this, like, courting Feyre thing when it literally depends on everyone's life. Like, if you almost wish that this kind of was a little bit like Crescent City, where everyone was watching this, because you could just see everyone under the mountain watching this being like, Tamlin, can you try? Can you put some effort in? Because the effort you're putting in is none.
Lucien, and yep, he is there getting ready to go out into the forest to do his like guard duty, whatever. For some reason, Lucien just straight up invites her to go on patrol with him, and she is like, what a great idea, sure. Yes. But then as they are riding their horses, Lucien is like, so you're here to persuade me to go behind Tamlin's back and help you get free? And Feyre's like, you piece of shit, read my mind. So Lucien is like, I admire your balls, Feyre, I really do. Or maybe it's stupidity. But since Tam won't gut you, which was my first choice, you're stuck here. Unless you want to rough it on your own in Prythian, which he looked me up and down, I'd advise against. But Lucien isn't all that smooth, let me tell you. As they are chatting,
no, he's not.
He lets it slip that there is a someone behind the blight. The sickness that Tamlin talked about with the magic being all funky.
Yep.
He mentions a mysterious her. Lucien quickly changes the subject, but Feyre is like, ooh, this boy's got loose lips. So she just keeps peppering him with questions. She's like, I'm gonna get something out of him.
Because the one thing men are is they're somewhat stupid when they let things slip. If you tell them, like if you indicate to them that they let it slip, they'll be like, oh no, I let it slip. Otherwise they'll think, oh, she didn't notice. Boy, we notice.
He's gonna slip again.
How old are you? Where are you from? Is there by any chance a fae that I can capture and it has to tell me the truth no matter what I ask?
Because she heard about that in like a fairy tale. And Lucien is like, oh, you mean the Suriel. The Suriel. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to catch one of those because it would kill you. But all Feyre hears is like, there must be one nearby if he's concerned. So thank you for that juicy bit of information, Lucien. And she's about to like start peppering him again when Lucien is just like, don't move. The hair on the back of her neck stands up like something is very wrong. Don't react, Lucien said, forcing his gaze ahead too. No matter what you feel or see, don't react. Don't look. Just stare ahead. I might have wondered if this was some kind of horrible joke, but Lucien's face had gone so very, very pale. So it turns out they encounter something called the Bogue. I'm going to call it the Bogue. I apologize. It's probably the Bog. And it is some kind of creature that can only hurt you if you acknowledge its existence. It like creeps up to her and it's like, Feyre, look at me. And this thing is nearly impossible to kill, but it can kill you. Oh, baby. Somehow they end up getting away from it. It kind of gives up on them. And they end their little patrol on, dare I say about the Suriel?
I'm going to fast
is
forward.
because we room together. And Tamlin is like, oh, you wanted to be alone today. And Lucien looks hella guilty. Feyre's like, oh, rats. But then Lucien is like, we saw a Bogue. And Tamlin replies with lethal calm. Where is it? And
the only time he's calm, if I'm going to be honest.
He just like immediately goes out and hunts it. And Feyre's like, didn't you say that that thing is like impossible to kill and it will absolutely kill you? And Lucien is like, you are talking about Tamlin. Tammy can kill anything. Like, don't worry about him.
Can he?
So he goes out like the warrior beastie man that he is.
Oh, God. Ugh, disgusting.
To go kill that nasty Bogue. So Go Tammy. Later that night, Tamlin still isn't back home.
She's not wrong.
And Feyre finds herself, of all things, worrying about Tamlin.
Oh, I forgot. This is when she starts to like him.
She's sitting in her bedroom, like looking out her window, looking at the forest. And she's like, what? Get yourself together, girl. Like, why do you care about this guy who kidnapped you? And as she's looking at the trees, she sees someone come out of it. But it's not Tamlin. Who is it? Danica. No, I'm kidding. It's her dad. Yeah, it's her dad.
Wait, that's amazing. It's Danica. Oh, that's so good. It's Danica.
Feyre doesn't even
It's Bryce.
think. She runs out of the house and she just sprints to the forest line towards her father. And all of a sudden, something grabs her from behind and it's Tammy. And he's like, where are you going? Normally, Feyre's pretty smart, but she basically saw her dad and just like forgot the fact that there are many things in the forest that probably want to kill her. That thing that looked like her father, it was another fairy just trying to like lure her into the forest, right? Tamlin is basically just like, girl, you are dumb. Like, at least run away in the daytime. And why do you want to go back to that life anyway? Like, what is so great about where you were? And Feyre tells him about the best thing that she made to her mother. And Tamlin is like, did you not hear me when I said that I took care of them? Like,
Tamlin, it's not the point.
The fact that you are here means that you are taking care of them. They're fine, trust me. And that's when it kind of hits her that she's like, I'm released from my vow. Like, I'm finally free. And she like doesn't know how to handle that because for the past 11 years, her entire life has revolved around that promise. And so she's kind of like, let me process that. But returning to the whole,
she's still processing that
in the forest trying to kill her thing. She's like, where are the other guards, by the way? And Tamlin is like, we don't need other guards while I'm here. But he also
tell that to like Frost and Starlight or Solar Flames, Tamlin. You don't need other guards.
Also says something kind of cryptic about how he's not supposed to be in charge. He trained to be a warrior. So he shows a little bit of vulnerability, tells us a little bit about himself. He doesn't really want this gig that he has, basically. But Feyre is kind of like, but is the forest always deadly? Like, this seems like kind of a shitty job. Like, you have to just keep killing things? Like, what's up? And he basically explains that because of the blight, the magic is weakening, and so all of the wards that would keep the court safe are weak too, and so things keep slipping in and out. And he says, things are different now. It's not safe to travel alone at night. And Feyre asks, what else is different now? She asks, trailing him up the marble front steps. He didn't stop this time, didn't even look over his shoulder to see me when he said, everything. And then we get a little montage of Tamlin being moody and distant and going mad and he's so much. And so, like I said, this is really where we just get probably like hundreds of pages, I'm gonna say, of Tamlin being sad and like begrudgingly doing his job. He just doesn't really want to be there. He's very lonely. It's just him because he's the most powerful, so he does everything. Poor Tammy, right?
Really? We're gonna have sympathy for him? No. Be a High Lord.
So that night, Feyre has a pretty bad nightmare and she wakes up and she's shaking and she's just like, screw this. I can't fall back asleep. Why don't I just wander around the house? As she's wandering around the house, she is making kind of like a map of all the exits and like all the windows and stuff because she's still like pretty set on escaping. And this is where we learn something important about Feyre. Because of everything that happened with her family when she was so young, she actually never had proper schooling, and so she can't read or write. And so as she's making this map, it's like in a very particular way that like she understands, but is clearly not written by someone who knows how to properly read and write. And as she is walking around making this map, she stumbles upon Tamlin, who has just come in, and he seems very like disoriented, and upon further inspection he's injured and bleeding. And it turns out that he was out again still trying to kill this bogue thing. So she walks up to him and is like, hey, did you manage to kill that thing? And he's like, yeah, but he's still not really like all there. And he kind of looks at what's in her hand and he just suddenly is like, you can't write, can you? And Feyre immediately is like ready for some kind of nasty comment. You know, how he called her house a hovel and all this stuff. But it turns out he's like, that must be why you're so good at other things. And Feyre is kind of like, was that a compliment? Like, I think that was his first nice-ish compliment. Damn. Okay, Tamlin, keep it going. Because he scored a bonus point with her, she's like, let me take you to the infirmary, get you...
It's sad that that was a bonus point for Feyre. Like, the fact that Tamlin acknowledged, like, oh, he didn't make fun of her for not knowing how to read. You know who did kind of sort of make fun of her for not knowing how to read? Rhys.
Cleaned up. And of course they do have like a nice moment for once. This is like the one time they haven't yelled at each other. The next morning, Feyre is heading down to breakfast when she hears the boys arguing. Lucien is like, what are you doing? And Tamlin is like, what are you doing? And Lucien says, stupid. There isn't much time and you're just sulking and glowering. You're not even trying to fake it anymore. Tamlin suddenly like whirls around and he's like, it was a mistake from the start. I won't follow his footsteps. I won't be that sort of person. So like, back off. So Lucien storms out and kind of brushes past Feyre and is like, you hang out with Tamlin today. I don't want to play with you. They're such babies. Like, these people are supposed to be hundreds of years old. They're children.
She's not wrong.
Feyre and Tamlin hang out today. Tamlin compliments her wound binding skills. He just keeps going with the compliments now. He's got it down. And then he also kind of has this realization that he's like, no one's ever taken care of you before, have they? Since you were 8 years old, like, you've had to take care of your family. Like, nobody really cared for you, right? And Tamlin gets very saddened by that. It's quite sweet. And that is when Tamlin leads her to the manor's study. He knows that, like, she doesn't want to embarrass her.
He's going to teach her how to read.
Difficult. She just kind of opens a book and tries to make sounds. And eventually, like, the main goal, Feyre wants to be able to write a letter to her family. But as she's in the study, she finds a mural. And this mural is actually depicting kind of the entire history of Prythian and the mortal realms. There's this cauldron that is pouring gold over the world, and it's beautiful. Then there's a war with the humans, and then we get kind of a better idea of how the fairy world is split up. So she is in the spring court, but there is also the summer, autumn, and winter court. There's also the dawn, the day, and the night court. Right? She goes back to her study desk and all of a sudden Tamlin just kind of pops out of nowhere and is like, oh, I would like to help you learn how to write. And for some reason, she doesn't take kindly to this and she's kind of like, I don't need your help, blah, blah, blah. And
it's because of the way he delivered it. Because even though if I remember correctly, it's because even though he was kind to her in the beginning about like, oh, you don't know how to read, blah, blah, but in that moment in the library, he was trying to be playful, but he had never been playful before with her. And so it came across as kind of condescending, which I get. This is like the one thing that I understand, because if there is one way to piss me off, it is to be condescending. Like, if you were condescending to me, oh, girl, it's going to be hard to get out of the good grace. It's going to be hard to make up with me, because I don't like condescending people. And I think in that moment he kind of was, and Feyre was like, this is a weakness of mine, and I knew this was going to happen, so like, please just leave me alone. Whereas I feel like Rhys, to compare, he was condescending to her. Not really. I don't even think Rhys was condescending. I think he was making light of it to not make it so much pressure behind her not knowing how to read and write. And so he was trying to make it fun, but there was never any sort of way it was delivered that made her feel lesser than. Whereas I think Tamlin struggles with that.
Tamlin is like, whoa, buddy, I wasn't trying to make fun of your shortcomings. And the fact that he called the fact that she can't read and write a shortcoming, she gets so pissed.
Yep.
And she storms off. And so all the good stuff
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Couple days
gone.
Screwed it up with just one word. And now if you are like, damn, is there never going to be any action in this book? Don't you worry. It starts to heat up right now. So Feyre, fuming, upset, she decides, I am getting out of here. She hasn't given up, right? And so remember her whole thing talking to Lucien about the surreal.
I always forget this is way later in the book.
Loophole to this treaty and get home. So she decides to go back to Lucien because she's like, he's gonna slip up again, right? And she just straight up asks him, how would one catch one? You know that thing we were talking about that you said would kill me?
This wine is making me yawn, sorry.
Getting one? And Lucien tells her very specific details like go get a chicken, go do this. And that is how you will set a trap for the Suriel. I'm not going to stretch this out because this happens in literally like one page. Feyre catches it. Hoo-ha, she's a really good hunter. This is a theme throughout the book.
Yes.
She's actually really good at hunting. And so she managed to catch a Suriel. She asked the most important question, which is like, how do I go home? The Suriel is like, you can't go home, quote, not unless you seek to be killed and your family with you. You must remain here. And then the Suriel...
Hold on, you can't... I'm trying to see if any of this was just... Unless... Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is just about ACOTAR. Okay.
drops a knowledge bomb. Tamlin isn't just high fae who, like, lives in a manor house, so, like, he has servants and whatever, and he's kind of, like, in charge of protecting the land. He is a high lord, of which there are only 7. So the spring court, summer, winter, autumn. He is the guy.
It is the Suriel is usually how it's described in the book, because this is, okay, quick Suriel lesson. So Suriel is a species of fae. There is more than one. However, the Suriel, meaning the singular Suriel that spends time with Feyre in this book, and then again in Mist and Fury, and again in ACOTAR. So that is the Suriel. A Suriel is the species. Feyre just happens to have bonded with one Suriel. Does that make sense? I hope so.
One of the top 7 most powerful beings.
Okay, but like if we're really gonna like put them in a lineup, I think Tamlin is like towards the bottom-ish. Like I think it goes Rhysand, Helion. Let's just say Autumn's below Tamlin. Let's give Tamlin that.
On Earth. And so Feyre's kind of like, ooh, he didn't mention that one.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like, oh,
he
damn.
didn't, because he keeps secrets.
Feyre is nice enough to ask about what they can do about the blight, because this isn't a problem that's going to stay in Prythian. She's pretty sure that whatever this magic sickness is, it's going to spread to the human realm. And
She's
the
not wrong.
Suriel says, stay with the High Lord, human. That's all you can do. You will be safe. Do not interfere. Do not go looking for answers after today, or you will be devoured by the shadow of Prythian. He will shield you from it, so stay close to him and all will be right. So that's like...
Stay with the High Lord. Stay with the High Lord, Feyre.
bad news for Feyre, who is trying everything in her power to get away from Tamlin.
Not that high. Okay.
The High Lord. But the Suriel can't lie. So she's kind of like, well, okay, I guess I'm stuck with you.
Baron's high as well. No. We'll do this after.
Then the
I'm gonna
Suriel
think about
tells
this.
her
Hold
a
on.
little bit more about the blight. And he mentions that the neighboring kingdom of Highburn, which is like on the map, it looks
I'm
like
gonna write this
Ireland,
down.
right? That is also Fey lands. And that king is pretty sick of the treaty, and he wants to overthrow the humans and like wants the Fey to be in charge again. And he sent spies over to Prythian or something like that. 50 years ago, one of his spies disobeyed. And this sounds like it's going to be a really important story, but then the Suriel just starts freaking out. He's like, we're not
me
alone.
just write 'em all down.
You have to untie me. I'm gonna die. You have to run. Blah, blah, blah. Turns out something called the Naga come out, and these are just like evil beings, right? And there are 4 of them, and they don't discriminate. They aren't just gonna attack Feyre. They're definitely gonna attack the Suriel, who is tied up in
Who am I
Feyre's
forgetting?
trap still. Feyre
Wait, hold on. Oh,
does a pretty selfless thing, and she wastes valuable time in which she
always
could be
forget his
running
name.
away, and she actually uses her arrow to like cut the Suriel free of its trap. The Suriel bounces, it's gone, zoomies. So now Feyre has to fight off 4 Naga all by herself. She fights a really good fight, but she's just overpowered, and she is pretty much seconds from death when Beastie Boy comes in full beast mode, and he, needless to say, rips them to shreds. Saved Feyre's life. That's pretty nice. And as they walk home, we get a sense again of like, not only is Tamlin like a really sad person, but he's like really, seems like he's carrying a lot of shame. Feyre notices that he looks guilty and shameful. And it seems like he's really embarrassed that his magic is weakening so that he can.
Yeah, it is embarrassing. I thought the cereal as short, but like really old evil queen from Snow White. But I saw a fan art of the cereal. It was like 7-foot tall skeleton. It is. He's massive. The cereal is massive. Okay, sorry. I'm listening to her, but I'm also now, hold on. We're going to take a quick interlude because we're like 40 minutes in. Hold on. Okay, let me play some music while I figure this out because now I want to figure it out. Welcome to Chaos. Is anyone surprised? Okay, so we have Rhys, Helion, Baron, Tarquin, Tamlin, Callias, and Thiessen. I always mess up his name. It's Dawn. And also I'm like a little tipsy at this point. Okay, so Rhys is definitely number 1. I think Helion is actually second. This is just High Lord. This isn't armies. I think Helion is second. Oh, you're probably right. I think it is Baron third. I think it's Baron. Then I think it's Tarquin. I think it's Tamlin. Then Callias. Actually, no. I changed my mind. Well, yeah. And then... Okay, this is what I think the ranking is. Of like... I'm literally going off of like what my own opinion is. Okay. This is what Sarah thinks is the most powerful to the least powerful. And I could be wrong. Rhys is obviously number 1. Number 2 is Helion because he's one of the older High Lords. Then Baron. Because he is pretty powerful. I kind of forgot during the whole ACOTAR conversation. He is pretty powerful. Then you have Tarquin. And Tarquin is like... I think because of the water ability, he gets pretty high up there. Tamlin is pretty powerful. I actually think you might be able to flip these two. I think Tamlin might be more powerful. I don't know. The shifting thing is what's throwing me off here. Callias, I don't think is that powerful. And I don't think the Dawn guy is either. I think it's his court. I think the court is what makes him powerful. I don't know. These ones feel like a tie to me. You know? They kind of feel like a tie. But definitely it goes like that. Random tangent. Anyways. Back to the video. Okay.
Can't protect people like he should. Like, he's a warrior, so he always wants to be defending. And his magic can't do that anymore. And so Feyre notices that, like, man, this guy carries, like, the weight of the world on his shoulders. He feels really bad. And so they don't really talk, but they part on peaceful terms, I would say, because he did just save her life. Oh, you guys can't see this, sorry. After a bubble bath and hot chocolate, Feyre goes down and joins the boys for dinner. She very subtly lets Lucien know that she didn't tell Tamlin that Lucien is the one who taught her how to catch the cereal, because she realizes, like, he set her up. Like, again, Lucien is a dick, and he still thinks life would be easier if Feyre was dead. And so he told her all of that, knowing that she would go try and get it, right? But she's not gonna snitch. And so as a subtle thank you, he says, well, you still look lovely regardless of your hell-sent afternoon. And Feyre laughs and is like, I thought fairies couldn't lie, because she doesn't think that she looks lovely. And Lucien is like, we can lie. And Feyre's like, what about iron? Can you touch iron? And Lucien is like, yeah, it doesn't do shit to us. What are you talking about? And Tamlin cuts in.
Why doesn't it do... Sarah J. Maas. We all know the answer to that. Anyways.
And he's like, even though Lucien revealed some of our closely guarded secrets, we never willingly lied to you. So Lucien once again has said too much. So he excuses himself from the table before he continues. And Tamlin starts off strong. He's asking Feyre how she's feeling. She just nearly died. Then he brings up the fact again that he could help Feyre write to her family, and once again she gets really angry.
Because he's passive aggressive about it.
Maybe, I don't know. This
no, he's passive aggressive.
Sarah J. Maas, she's got motivations. She basically is like, passive aggressive. Pity, and Tamlin says, "Well, do you want my friendship?"
No.
Feyre's like, yeah, Fae and mortals can't be friends. Like, what are you talking about, my dude? Tamlin is like, but what about all the Fae that fought on the human side of the war? In the war, humans versus Fae, do you think the humans stood a single chance all by themselves? Like, they had Fae on their side fighting for them. And Feyre's like, oh, I didn't know that. And to really run that point home that not all Fae are bad, right? Tamlin elaborates on what he did for Feyre's family. For what it's worth, Tamlin said, your family knows you're safe. They have no memory of the beast bursting into their cottage and think a long-lost, very wealthy aunt called you away to aid her on her deathbed. They know you're alive and fed and cared for, but they also know that there have been rumors of a threat in Prythian. They're prepared to run should any warning signs of the wall faltering occur, which is exactly what Feyre wanted to write them about. She wanted to warn them to be ready to run. And Tamlin already did that and like gave her a cover story.
No. Yeah, fine.
The friendship is bubbling away. Feyre is suddenly warming up to Tam Tam. And she decides, all right, let's test this friendship. I would like something. Because Tamlin is always like, just let me know, you know? And Feyre is like, can I have paint?
Right.
She's like, I like to paint. And Tamlin is like, oh, my moment. Yes, I will get you paint. I will get you canvas. I will get you paper. I will get you everything that you want. What do you want? Do you want a room to paint in? We can open the gallery. I can have it cleaned. And he's like super excited to like be able to provide for her, basically. He smiled at me broadly and without restraint or hesitation. Isaac never smiled at me like that. Isaac had never made my breath catch just a little bit. Damn. Sorry, Isaac. Like, Isaac is only in this book to be like lightly roasted by Tamlin.
For now.
But the cute moment is over. Feyre goes to bed and wakes up from a nightmare. And that is when she realizes she hears a bunch of stuff happening in the house. So she runs down and she sees...
I will say this is one of my like favorite parts because I find it very interesting the way Tamlin handles this. Also, I like the way Feyre handles this. Yeah, that's it.
Tamlin, Lucien, and a bunch of other people running into kind of the main part of the house, and Tamlin is carrying this like broken lump of a fairy, like this poor blue-skinned fairy, and he's screaming. Everybody is clearly like, something is very, very wrong. Basically what she gathers is that this fairy that Tamlin is holding was dumped on the border of their lands, and the fairy just keeps screaming like, she took my wings, she took my wings. And when you look at his back where his wings should be, it's like ripped and nasty, and like bones and guts and stuff are like coming out of his back, and he's just pretty gross. Not healing. Like, Fae are supposed to heal quite fast, but he's losing so much blood that they're like, we don't know what to do. Lucien is no help. He takes one look at the fairy and is like throwing up. Basically, it's Feyre and Tamlin that are trying to help this fairy kind of in his last moments. Feyre actually like grabs the Fae's hand and tries to calm him down, and she's like, don't worry, you know, you're gonna get your wings back, I promise, it's all gonna be okay. And eventually she does get the Fae to kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna get my wings back, okay, and he kind of takes his last breath. So of course after that Tamlin asks her why, you know, if she hates the Fae so much, why did you help this absolute stranger, Fae? And she says, because I wouldn't want to die alone, because I'd want someone to hold my hand until the end, and a while after that. That's something everyone deserves, human or fairy. I regret what I did to Andrus, I said, the words so strangled they were no more than a whisper. I regret that there was such hate in my heart. I wish I could undo it, and I'm sorry. Tamlin just kind of nods, picks up the dead fairy, and walks out to bury him. And it's very clear that like he wants to do this alone, because again, he's just so ashamed. He takes every death as a, you know, mark of his incompetence. The next day, to get us out of the doom and gloom, Tamlin decides that they are going to go for a little picnic. Tamlin, Lucien, and Feyre. Once again, Lucien is like definition of third wheel. Okay, they head out to this lake, and apparently it's like a lake of starlight. It's some kind of magical lake. It looks beautiful. It's great. It's amazing. Whatever. And everybody, the grass in the meadow is the same green as Tamlin's eyes.
Oh God.
And, she never noticed there are flecks of amber in it. You know shit's going down when you start noticing the color of somebody's eyes. So
she ain't wrong.
Buckle up, everybody. But she lets it slip in conversation that she knows that Tamlin is the High Lord. Tamlin is like, oh, so the cereal didn't tell you anything important, right? Because when he killed the Naga, he was asking like, hey, you know, did you get any info from the cereal? And she's like, nah, nothing. So he's kind of like teasing.
Okay, let's just get to Calumet.
He's kind of, you know, teasing along with him. And brothers executed her in front of him. Vicious. Lucien fell in love with a girl who was not in the correct social rank. And it's magical. Basically, they just spend the whole time swimming in their and Lucien is like, okay, well, you apologized, so I have an apology too. I heard you scream. Like when the Naga came out, he's like, I heard you scream, and I hesitated for a second. Like, I could have prompted. When we are thrown back into the Beauty and the Beast thing, where Tamlin has finally gotten the gallery cleaned up, so remember, and it's ready, and so there's not much. Brings Feyre to the gallery.
You like it?
It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Days melt into weeks. There's not much to do, and then just one day, as it does, she has a bad day. She just kind of thinks about her family and how they're walks out to the rose garden to kind of just have a moment, and Tamlin follows her out. Feyre basically explains to Tamlin that she feels guilty for living the life that she's living right now, like the fact that she is living comfortably in this beautiful manner, but then she also feels bad for feeling bad, you know, because Tamlin and his—
I'm sorry, this is like, I forgot Feyre does this. This is such a yeah, I'm gonna say it. This is such an Archer on sister move to be like, oh, I'm living so comfortably, but I feel really bad about it. But I'm living really comfortably, but like, you know, I'm just so worried for my family. Like, this is an Elaine conversation. I kind of forgot she has this.
His whole court are suffering from this like horrible magic weakening thing. So like, who is she to complain? Basically like, I feel shitty for feeling shitty. And like, I know it's not a big deal. And Tamlin is like, no, if you care, it is a big deal. As she's telling this story, she's been like picking at the roses because she's nervous. So her hands are all nice and bloody. So he takes her hand and kisses them. And he says that she shouldn't feel guilty for feeling joy. And he says that he is drawn to her joy even when he shouldn't be.
He's not drawn to her joy. He's drawn to her pain.
And then he takes his lips, which are now all bloody from kissing her bloody hands, and kisses her on her cheek. Heartbreakingly gentle was his kiss. And then he leaves. And you know what she did? She took a gasping breath, not realizing she was holding it. In order to avoid any awkwardness the next day because of that weird bloody kiss thing, Feyre decides to run off into the woods by herself. Somehow in that time she managed to set a booby trap and also managed to trap the High Lord. Like, I feel like he would have seen it. I don't think she's that good of a hunter. But anyway, she snares.
No, it's not that she's not that good of a hunter. Tamlin's not paying attention. That's what it is. Tamlin isn't paying attention. And so he gets caught. Feyre's a good hunter, but Tamlin should have known better.
Him, and he's like dangling from a tree, and they're like, ha ha ha, this is cute. And then he's like, I stalked you into the woods for a reason, Feyre. And he hands her some paper, and she looks at it, and it's poetry. A long time ago, go way back into the study when she was first trying to teach herself to read, she kept like a little word list, and Tamlin found it, and that's when he was kind of like, I could help you.
Oh, I forgot about this. This is so gross.
And she blew up. So he kept that list of words, and he wrote a poem using each of those words, and each poem is dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. So yeah, he gave her dirty poems. So again, cute. He is no longer...
Wait, hold on. Is that cute or is that creepy? Because I kind of think that's weird. I'm sorry. Are we gonna... Let's compare that to Rhysand as the sexiest Hyla, or what is it? Best lover a woman could ever ask, female could ever ask for, or stuff like that. That's funny. It's creepy. Tamlin. Gross.
So socially inept. She's reading the poems. They're getting worse and worse. And when she finally reaches the last one,
I'm starting to remember why I don't reread this book. Like, tonight I'm going to have to reread Mist and Fury to, like, cleanse my palate.
Feyre laughed like sunshine shattering aged hardened ice. So that is the end of part 1. I'm going to go and see you in part 2. Welcome to part 2, I would say. I'm creating these parts. So this is the middle bit of the book, and this is where I have to talk about the mate thing. This is a huge
this will be
Sarah J.
interesting.
Maas thing. I believe it's also just a pretty big fae thing.
It is.
That fairies have mates, soulmates, whatever. And so if you go back to when Feyre and Tamlin were having their little chat in the rose garden and he gave her like that whole bloody kiss thing, he mentioned that that rose garden was actually a gift from
Listen, we all need a Tamlin detox. I have to tell you guys about the fanfic I read after this. Like, I'll try and we're an hour in, so I'll get us a little farther, and then I'll tell you about the fanfic I read. Because let me tell you, in any other context, it would be considered creepy. Because it was Rhys and Feyre, it was not creepy.
Father to his mother to celebrate their, like, mating bond, right? Feyre is kind of like...
I actually thought that was kind of cute. I think the rose garden thing is kind of cute. I'm not going to lie. I do like it.
Like... Can you explain that? Like, how is that different from just like a marriage? Your mate is your equal and match in every way. And when this quote unquote bond snaps into place, marriage is insignificant in comparison. She keeps kind of pressing him about his father because he has never spoken about his life.
No, Amber, we all have rose-colored tinted glasses when we read this freaking book. Most of us do, I should say. Avery is very proud of the fact that she didn't. Yeah.
Like, we learned about Lucien's family, but like, does he have siblings? Like, we don't know. Tamlin says
we still don't know the situation with Tamlin. All we know is that he was bred to essentially be the general, like he was raised in that regard. But did he have I think he had an older brother? Maybe that is explained. Maybe Rhys explains that.
His
I don't
father
remember.
is actually worse than Lucien's. And remember, Lucien's dad beheaded his girlfriend in front of him. Worse than that. And his mother really loved his father. Obviously, they were mates. And so even though he was really abusive and kind of just this horrible guy, she never said anything about it. He loved his mom, but, you know, he felt kind of betrayed by her. Then when his whole family gets killed, doesn't tell us why, his father, brothers, and mother all get killed. That is why he was thrust into...
So he did have a brother. I kind of remember that now.
He didn't want it, and he very specifically went away to train to be a warrior so that he wouldn't be near his brothers and like any possibility of being High Lord. But the world had other plans for him. And Tamlin kind of gets this like moody look in his eye. So Feyre, to change the subject, is just like, what's that?
Look over there!
Where? Oh.
And it looks like they're building bonfires like out in the fields.
Here we go.
around the manor. He explains that it is something called Calanmai, which is like a fire festival, whatever. It's a big deal in the spring court.
This is literally, this reaction is me reading this book where I'm like, when is he gonna show up? When is it gonna get interesting? Here we go.
Happening in 2 days. He's literally like, it's very fairy. There's like a ritual. They have to create magic that will like help feed the fields and the nature for the rest of the year. He's very vague about it. Don't worry. We'll get info. Feyre is like, cool, a party? Can I come? And Tamlin is straight up just like, no. You are not. Then they walk back towards the house and they're in the garden, and all of a sudden Tamlin gets like really freaked out and he's just like, hide, like stay hidden, don't come out no matter what you see, like don't let anybody see you. And so Feyre's like, okay, and ducks behind a bush. Then she sees Lucien and Tamlin start talking to an invisible person. Whoever it is clearly like bringing bad news, threatening them. They both seem like really, really not pleased. And it's saying things like, you're running out of time, she's going to destroy you, blah, blah, blah. Remember when we learned Lucien kind of let it slip that there was a someone behind this whole blight thing? He was like, her deal. She did this kind of thing. The invisible person is also talking about this mysterious she, right? And when this person finally leaves, Tamlin comes back to Feyre.
Wait, don't we know it's the Adder the entire time? I feel like we did. I feel like we always knew it was the Adder. Like, I feel like we heard the voice and then they explain it's the adder. Maybe not.
And we learned that the thing that they were talking to is the ACOTAR. And it's just like this evil.
I swear to God. Okay, anyways.
Thing. We don't get a whole lot of information, but like, don't go near this person, right? Very, very, very bad.
I really like the image she picked for the adder. I would have personally have picked the gargoyle from Disney. You know which one I'm talking about? The one, okay, you guys are gonna judge me. Don't. Because I never saw the cartoon it came from. But you know which one I'm talking, the one in World of Color. You know what I'm talking about? Like the gargoyle, the big creepy one? I think it's in Phantasmic. That's what I pictured the adder.
To the point where Tamlin's face was pale with fury, right? So bad news. The next day we wake up and it's time for the party. Feyre is looking out longingly at the bonfires and she's just like, you know what? Screw it. They can't keep me in. And she tries to go outside when Tamlin, of course, intercepts her. And he is looking nice, right? But he is not here to flirt. He is here to intimidate. He basically has to partake in this thing called the Great Rite. And Feyre's like, what's the great? And then Tamlin's like, just go to your chamber.
And this is where we get overprotective Tamlin.
Chambers and don't come out. Feyre is obviously like, why? And he says, just do it. His canines began to lengthen. My heart leapt.
The adder is very skeletal with wings. I would agree. That's why I pictured like a gargoyle, even though it still makes no sense. But it's like a mix between a gargoyle and it's more skeleton-y though. But yes.
Leapt into a gallop. Don't come out until morning. Please. So yeah, he's like on the verge
all of us
of
are like,
turning into a beast
no.
at all times. Like something weird is happening tonight. She obeys him for a grand total of 1 paragraph. She's sitting in her room and she just hears this voice constantly calling her. There's like these beating of the drums and stuff. Like the party.
We know who it is.
She just feels really called. It's almost like she's in
Here
a
we go.
trance.
Here we go.
Out she goes. Of course, she immediately gets picked up by some fairy dudes and they are like harassing her. Definitely bad news. She starts to fight them off and she falls, but sturdy hands grasped me under my shoulders before I could hit the grass. They were strong hands, warm and broad, not at all like the prodding bony fingers of the 3 fairies who went utterly still as whoever...
Wait, I'm sorry. His fingers are broad? I don't know. I imagine him with like long fingers.
Caught me, gently set me upright. There you are. I've been looking for you, said a deep, sensual male voice I'd never heard. The 3 lesser fairies had paled, their dark eyes wide. Thank you for finding her for me, my savior said to them, smooth and polished. She steps out of the shelter of her savior's arm.
You know, listening to it like this, Sarah literally made it so obvious. Everything. She made it so obvious that Sarah has the hots for Rhysand, and that's fine. That's fine.
Turns to thank him, and standing before me was the most beautiful man I've ever seen. End chapter. I love it. So we have now met the mysterious hottie. Oh, you can't really see him. Mysterious hottie. Maybe an important character.
Wait. I love that it's literally the photo of Dorian. You guys do know that, right? Like it's the same photo as Dorian? Because it is. That's amazing.
Sure, I just wanted to put him on my wall. We do get a little flirty moment between Feyre and the mysterious hottie, and he is so curious as to why a human would be here. And she makes up some story of like, oh, I'm here with my friends, and they're like, right, like a fairy would really leave their human alone on this night.
No, he's being protective, but it's fine.
And she's kind of like, you don't seem like you're from the Spring Court. Why are you here? And he says, because tonight all of the monsters are let out of their cages.
Oh, God, Rhys. He also makes a joke like, no, I'm not from Spring Court.
Oh. So then he, disappears into the shadows. She is too stunned to speak. And that's when Lucien runs up and is just like, what the fuck. He slings her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes and doesn't let her down until he throws her onto the floor of the manor. And he's like, girl, what the fuck? Didn't Tamlin tell you to stay?
This is where I'd like to point out that this is why I'm so excited for an Aleutian book, because you know he's going to sling over his shoulders at least once. And I'm going to be like, hot.
Inside, right? And then he's like, it hasn't started yet, but he's performing the great rite. If you were there. And Lucien looks at her like she should know what he's trying to say. And Feyre's looking at him like, I don't know what you're saying. He explains that the rite is basically a fairy sex ritual.
It's an orgy.
Tamlin is the High Lord, and somehow he like fills himself with...
You know what's funny is that of every book I've ever read, like now, that's not even the worst. You know what I mean? Like we read way worse in the realm.
This weird ass magic, and it puts him in a trance, and it makes him into a hunter. As the hunter, his main focus in life is to find the maiden, and they are going to couple, and their coupling will release magic throughout the realm and like enrich the soil or something. But basically he loses his mind, and like all he can think about is sexy time, right? And Lucien is basically like, please stay inside. I have to go back
and deal with this.
Which is where this is all going down. And I need to go try and control Tamlin, because when he comes out of the cave and he smells that you had been there, he's going to go crazy looking for you.
Yes.
And Feyre's kind of like, why would he care so much about me? But also she's like, ew, that's horrible. Why can't men control themselves? Stay in your room tonight, Feyre.
I don't think she felt that. I think it was more like, I'm intrigued, but also like, ew, I don't want to do it with Tamlin. I think that's what it was.
Feyre, Lucien said, walking to the garden doors, no matter who comes knocking, keep the door locked. Don't come out till morning. But does Feyre listen?
No.
It is now about 2 a.m. and Feyre is in her room, still not sleeping, and she hears the drums stop. So she assumes that the rite has ended, and she's just sitting in her room thinking about the girl that Tamlin chose and how, God, she's probably like so pretty and so fey, and I hate this. And she just sits up in bed and she's like, F this.
Yeah, she
goes down to the kitchen to get cookies. I'm not kidding. As she is coming back from the kitchen, who does she run into?
Relatable.
Tamlin. You guys know that I don't like to read dirty scenes, especially Sarah J. Maas, because she has a certain vocabulary that just makes me ill.
Velvet wrap steel.
So we're not going to go into too many details, but we get our first little steamy moment.
Wait, she thinks this is steamy? I mean, he does bite her, but it's not that steamy. She should really read Throne of Glass if she doesn't like the spice.
Tamlin shows up and he's like, going somewhere. And Feyre just holds up her cookie and she's like, midnight snack.
Yeah.
He is pissed. He like slams her into the wall and he's like, I was looking for you. I'm really angry. And clearly is still kind of under the influence of magic. Also, meanwhile, he is covered in paint. And so Feyre can get like a very visual idea of like what went down in the rite, if you know what I mean. Like we're talking fingerprints and stuff. And he's like, I had to pick some other girl. And then he goes into details about like what he would have done if...
Oh yeah, he does do that. Yeah.
Feyre had been there, and she tries to shove him off, but obviously like that doesn't work, and he gets angry, and so he like takes a bite out of her, like gives her a little chomp on the neck, and Feyre is like, ow, but also she kind of likes it.
She did.
Go girl. He says, never disobey me again, and Feyre's like, don't tell me what to do, and they kind of have this moment. It's heated, it's a standoff, and then he stalks off. This is where I need to point out something that Sarah J. Maas loves, which is sense of smell. She talks about the sense of smell a lot. They have a heightened sense of smell. And so if
she
you
does,
remember
that's true.
Way back to when Feyre first...
Yeah, so Tamlin I think they just say it was like a random chick. They don't elaborate. But yes, he was with another woman, female, but he says basically she was like a constellation prize. Like he really wanted Feyre. Yep.
Kind of found that knife and hid it up her sleeve. Tamlin knew about it because he could, quote unquote, smell her fear. So like when you have certain strong emotions, they like release a like a pheromone or like smells, you know?
Yeah.
You know what else they're really good at smelling? If you are turned on. And this is something that is like prevalent in all of her books. And so basically,
Yep.
when they had that like heated moment, Tamlin was like, sniff, sniff. Oh, she's into me, because that little bite kind of like made her a little excited. He's like, okay, noted. And then he walks off.
Yeah,
the next
that's
morning,
true.
Feyre's getting ready for lunch. Everybody is incredibly hungover. She's not, but everybody else is. She is about to start covering her bruise, but then she's like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
He should see it. Like, he
Yeah.
should feel bad. So she doesn't. She actually like wears a shirt that accentuates the giant bite mark on her neck.
This
she
is a
hopes
good
that,
part.
like, he'll feel ashamed, right, for what he did. So she waltzes into the dining room where Lucien and Tamlin look like they're about to die. They are so hungover. And
This is true.
Feyre doesn't get the satisfaction of seeing Tamlin be ashamed, because Tamlin's like, it's not my fault. I gave you very specific instructions and you disobeyed me like 100 times. Lucien is super amused by this and is just watching their back and forth
Yeah,
like
he
a
is.
tennis match. And
Yeah.
it's really great. Feyre eventually storms out because Tamlin is clearly like having fun with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's acting angry, she also seems to be happy with this teasing as well. So
Gross.
I guess if everybody's happy, it's okay. Don't
It's
worry
not.
though, he does apologize. He gives her lots of roses
But like, does he apologize, or is it like a pity apology because now it's like hook, line, and sinker? Like, he's got her.
at dinner. And for the first time in a long time, Feyre sleeps peacefully. We love that. So, recap. She has noticed the amber flecks in Tamlin's eyes, right? She caught her out dining room for dinner the next day wearing her dress. Alice, by the way, is very pleased by this. Whatever discussion Tamlin and Lucien had been having stopped. And I tried something incredibly important, Lucien said, and before I could call him on his outright lie or beg him to stay, the fox-masked fairy vanished. They're sitting at like this long table, right? And Tamlin's on one end and Feyre's on the other. And she's kind of like, you're so far away. And in an instant, he uses his magic to like cut the table and they are like face to
Gross.
face, right? And Feyre's like, oh, okay. I thought that your magic was weakening. And he's like, yeah, that was a little harder than usual. But he's like, I'm not gonna miss a chance to show off for a beautiful lady, right? After they eat, Feyre brings
I'm so glad we
Tamlin
both
to her
rolled our
painting
eyes at
room.
that.
So ever since she got those paints, she has been given a private studio and she has not allowed anybody in. She's just been kind of, for Tamlin,
Right.
just kind of told to work. And he is immediately like, oh yeah, that is, you know, the forest where you hunted, and that is. And he actually asks if he can take one. And she says yes, and he gives her a smile more beautiful than any enchanted meadow or pool of stars. And
Let's not bring stars into this, okay? That's gross, Sarah, Janet.
he chooses the one of the forest, like kind of the least pretty one. And she's really touched by that. And then,
I wonder if he kept that. I don't remember.
and of course, she asks, like, okay, listen, I think we're friends now. Can I help with the curse? Like, I'm face without the mask on right now.
Wait, hold on.
So is there anything that I can do? And like,
He
honestly,
says
I
no.
think she just really wants to see his face without the mask on, right? But he's like, no. Like, this is my burden.
Whatever.
I have to do everything by myself. And Feyre's like, listen, if you aren't going to tell me anything, do you want me to just leave? Like, she kind of gets heated again. And he's like, no. And then he switches the subject. And he's talking about how many lovers he's had.
Why did I not see these red flags?
Cue Feyre's sudden burning rage, right? But they never understood what it was like for him. He thinks that Feyre caring for her family is so much like his own burden, and so he feels less alone, and that's why he chose her painting of the woods. And you know what she did? She didn't lock her bedroom door that night. The next day...
I mean, yeah.
we are with Tammy and Feyre. They're sitting in a little
Tammy.
glen, enjoying the beauty of nature, right? And Tamlin's laying there, and he's like, man, that thing that the Weeping Willow is singing, ooh, it's a bop. And Feyre is like missing out. Like, hey, I could actually. And so he suddenly gets this like little kiss on each eyelid when she opens her. Okay. And he ends up giving her a kiss on each eyelid.
What is up with these men and kissing their eyes? Because Rhys does it later.
When she opens her eyes, the world is nuts. And it's not just the world. She takes a look at our buddy here, Tamlin, and he has been wearing a glamour so as to not overwhelm her with his beauty. And so he is like glowing. Pretty sure there's glitter coming off of him. Like he is nice, right? He's still got his mask on, but he's nice. She kind of like lives in that for a little bit, gives Tamlin his kiss on the cheek as payment. They just take a little nap in the only one wearing a glamour. This morning, however, is chaos because Tamlin wasn't the only one wearing a glamour. He basically glamored most of his court.
I forgot it was this far in that she doesn't realize it. I thought it was so much sooner. Damn.
To not freak Feyre out, like this human that he just brought into his realm. He was like, this girl is not ready for what lives in my house. So all of a sudden, Alice comes in to like wake her up in the morning, and Alice is one of the Fae that are like made of wood. Like her
she looks like a tree.
Bark.
Yes.
And she's like, where's Alice? And Alice is like, girl. For like people like Alice, he kind of just changed how they looked so that Feyre wouldn't be scared. But for all the other people, because he has like tons of people running this manor, and the manor has been empty, right? Turns out he just made them invisible to not overwhelm Feyre. And so every time that Feyre has been like sneaking around
this is
halls,
good.
like she went to go get her midnight cookie, or when she like frantically ran out to go see her dad or whatever, there have been witnesses.
I kind of think they're not going to explain this in the TV show. It's just going to be an empty manor the whole time. Like, there's no way they can explain this and make this make sense. I will be shocked. I'll be like, oh, we did decide to show everyone in spring. I think they'll just chalk it up that everyone's under the mountain.
Are so many people around. So she comes out of her room to go get breakfast, and she's like, oh, damn. That's a funny update. But then the next day is even more chaotic. Not for a funny reason, like, ooh, there were invisible people this whole time, but because Tamlin found a severed head. Oh. The head is branded with the mark of the Night Court. Lucien and Tamlin basically explained that this is a warning. Just a reminder that everybody knows that the Spring Court's magic is weakening and the Night Court is ready whenever to strike. Now it's time for another party. It's the summer solstice.
Let's strike now.
Feyre is invited. Feyre shows up. Tamlin has disappeared. Lucien has low-key disappeared. And she meanders like anyone would towards the snack table. She reaches for a glass of fairy wine, and then Lucien just pops up and he's like, I wouldn't do it, girl. I'm serious, Lucien said as I lifted the glass to my lips, my brows raised. Remember the last time you ignored my warning? He poked me in the neck and I batted his hand away. I also remember you telling me how witchberries were harmless, and the next thing I knew I was half delirious and falling over myself, I said, recalling the afternoon from a few weeks ago. I'd had hallucinations for hours after.
Oh, nope, this is sex.
I was having a great time. She heads over to the dance floor where there are all these musicians. And this was mentioned like in passing, but Tamlin is a great fiddle player.
Yes.
Who knew? So he's actually over there with the musicians, and Feyre's doing her dancing thing. It's a cute moment. Eventually, Tamlin puts down his fiddle and joins in the dancing. Once Feyre is a little sobered up, they like head out to a quiet place. Cute. It's sweet, but it's the summer solstice, so like how the party ends is everybody has to go watch the sunrise. So they like go up this thing that her dad always used to tell her, which was there's a better world outside of their like current living situation, life out there. Lunch together, and Lucien is like, I am trying to eat, because Feyre and Tamlin are just like undressing each other with their eyes basically. Then he's like, okay, not to be the bearer of bad news and like ruin your moment, but the Winter Court just sent me a letter that a blight killed a dozen kids. Sarah J. Maas, you'll see this, and we've already seen it before, but she really loves to contrast either like a really steamy moment or like a really cute romantic moment with something horrific happening. So basically Feyre is thinking like she wants to get it on this table right now, and then it's like all these kids were slaughtered.
Yes, she does do this. This is true.
They're sitting there reflecting on this and being sad. Obviously it's very quiet, and then they realize it's really quiet in this house. And all of a sudden, Tamlin is just
Here we
like,
go.
hide Feyre. Lucian shoves her into the curtains, glamours her invisible. Tamlin tries to look casual in his chair, but he's not a good actor. But Feyre's freaking out because remember the last time she had to hide, and it was the adder that came, and Tamlin was like, the adder will kill you gruesomely, like horrifically. So Feyre is like, what else could be coming? Like, the only time I have to hide is when something is definitely gonna kill me. So like, oh no. Footsteps sounded from the hall.
Here we go.
Even, strolling, casual. Who walks in? The hottie from Fire Night. Mysterious hottie is in the dining room. What the hell? Tamlin is like, what do you want, Rhysand? The stranger is like, damn, Tam, only my prisoners and enemies call me that. And then he's like,
it is kind of amazing that he does. This is the conversation we have. Like, it's good.
Sup, Lucian? Like, the fox mask is appropriate. I really like it. And Lucian is like, go to hell, Rhys. Tamlin is like, what are you doing here? Rhysand, who, spoiler alert, here he is, mysterious hottie, is Rhysand. Yeah. Oh man. Rhysand is like, oh, I just wanted to check if you got my present. And he's talking about the severed head.
I miss this Rhys. I do miss this Rhys. This is the Rhys I like. I like the Rhys that's like bringing people severed heads and is kind of a jerk. It's fun. It's a good time.
He starts to say things that we, the reader, and Feyre don't understand about the blight and the magic weakening. And Lucian is like, what do you know? You're Amarantha's whore. Oh, we have a name, a new name, but we don't know who is this. Rhysand laugh, a lover's laugh, low, soft, intimate. Is that any way to speak to a high lord of Prythian? So, two things we get from this. Number one, Sarah J. Maas is obsessed with Rhysand's voice.
She is. Yes. In the most recent book, that's very obvious.
Obsessed. Second of all, Rhysand is the High Lord of the Night Court.
It's hot.
The baddest baddie. Oh no. Rhysand is about to leave, and he cryptically is like, she's waiting for you, she's ready. And he starts to walk out, and then he looks at the table, and he's like, it's set for 3 people. Where's your guest, guys? He's looking at Tamlin, Lucian. He's like, 2, 3.
I can't wait for this in the show because it's going to be so snarky and everyone's going to hate him and I'm going to love it.
And that's when he realizes Lucian was using a glamour to make somebody invisible. And he is pissed. He just goes like, woof. And Feyre is exposed. When he sees Feyre, he's like, oh, hey, girl. I remember you. How you doing?
Hey, girl, hey.
Seems like you haven't stayed out of trouble like I asked you to. And Lucian claims that Feyre is his fiance. And Rhysand is like, no, you don't dabble with mortal stuff. I know you, buddy. She still has that little knife sword thing that Lucian,
the irony,
gave her, remember? And so she holds it up, and Rhysand just picks it out of her fingers. And he's like, that really won't do you any good. He's basically like, I'm really amazed that you're still here. You should be running from this place. When he sees that Feyre looks confused, he's like, she doesn't know. And Tamlin growls. He's like, you have seconds to leave Rhysand. Seconds. Then she starts to feel a little funny in her head. She feels like there's almost a claw or a hand going into her head.
I imagine it like this.
Turns out it's Rhysand, and he's like, oh, I forgot that human minds are as easy to shatter as eggshells. And Tamlin is losing his shit. He is feral.
Yes.
Rhysand starts reading out Feyre's dirty, dirty thoughts for fun because
this was going to bite him in the butt in Act 4. Every time I read this, I'm like, Rhys, stop. This is where we get the High Lord meeting comments.
He is a mind reader or something. And
Damati.
He's like, ooh, she would like to feel that bite, not just on her neck. Tamlin is essentially foaming at the mouth at this. Feyre is frozen in fear. Tamlin all of a sudden is just like, please don't tell Amarantha about her. He seems so sad and so kind of pathetic, and he starts to grovel, and
disgusting.
He bows down to Rhysand
yeah,
and
it's pretty great.
Kisses his boots and is just like, please don't do it.
Does he kiss his
Feyre
boot?
is still too scared
I think
to
he
move,
does.
but deep down she is pissed, but Rhysand seems like he's having a grand old time. In
He
the
is.
end, Rhysand is like, I will consider not telling her. But by the way, girl, what's your name? And Feyre just gives out like a random name. The first person she thinks of is like her neighbor,
Claire.
back home, and she's like, my name is Claire. What's her name? Claire Better. And Rhysand is like, well,
Bedore, I
that
think.
was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys under the mountain. And he leaves them alone in a horrible, trembling silence. After Rhysand leaves, Feyre like jettisons off to her room. She's shaking, she's scared, and she's just sitting in her bed when she hears the door kind of creak open. And it's Tamlin, and he just kind of like, oh,
We're
so
fast forward through
sorry. I'm going to get into details, but Tamlin uses a claw to take off her intimate.
Yep.
Tomorrow, he whispers, I love you. And they fall asleep. Feyre wakes up again, and she is alone. For what it's worth, Lucien actually seems upset that she's leaving. Like, remember, he was on
Yeah, but he's not upset that she's leaving because she's leaving. He's upset that she's leaving without ever saying I love you, which breaks the curse. That's why he's upset.
Team Let's Kill Feyre this whole time. He's actually quite sad that she's going. Tamlin just like puts her in the carriage. Like, this is all happening in like a page.
Yeah.
Tamlin just goes and plops her in the carriage, and he says I love you again, and Feyre just kind of chokes up like she can't say anything and rides away. Allegedly, the reason why she doesn't say anything is because she doesn't want him to have another burden on his shoulders. She hopes that he can just forget her, right? If she had said, oh, I love you too, he might have, like, I don't know, remembered her more. But anyway, she gets back home. She's back in the mortal realm. And Tamlin wasn't lying about taking care of the family. They are pretty much wealthy again. Everything's fine. Like, they're...
I'm gonna fast forward through this.
Just running in the back of her mind over and over and over again. Weeks pass, and Feyre all of a sudden is just
Nesta.
like, by the way, I know you're lying. And Feyre and stuff like that just didn't work on her. So, like, 1 second,
This is
a beast.
This is never really explained why it didn't work on Nesta, except for the fact that she was wearing iron jewelry, which also doesn't make any sense. It should have nothing to do with that. Yeah.
Has come and taken Feyre away, and her dad and everybody, like, they're all screaming. And Nesta actually, like, went to the border and tried to fist her. So the thing that Nesta says is, can you teach me to paint? So anyway, tell me everything. And Feyre does. And at the end of it, the only thing that Nesta says is, can you teach me to paint?
I don't remember that. I do not remember that. Nesta never paints. Not even in Silver. If I see Nesta paint, I'm going to be like, wow. An editor of Sarah's really went back to ACOTAR and remembered that Nesta wanted to paint. Because Nesta never shows an interest in painting ever again. Yep, never again.
So anyway, they're painting, and Nesta opens up about why she hates their dad. Like,
we already know this.
Savior High Lord, right? And Feyre's like, yeah. But then one day, the family is sitting together, and I couldn't even find Claire's body. And that she wouldn't tell her family. And
so yeah, so she's gonna go.
Like, live your life.
Let's
You're
just get
free
under
from
the
us.
mountain.
Go to your High Lord, and like, don't worry about. And his curse will be broken, and all of his court can leave here and remain free forever, right? And Amarantha is like, ooh, I'm gonna spice it up even more, girl. You can either do the 3 tasks, or you can just answer a riddle. Curse broken instantaneously. But get the riddle wrong, or fail the tasks, well, let's do 1 task per full moon. What do you say? She looks at Tamlin, and for the briefest second, he widens his eyes in a clear no. But she had no other choice. She loved him with a fierceness.
Disgusting.
All beats her up, breaks her bones.
Yeah,
all
this
the
is
people
kind of
in
weird.
The throne room
They
just
do.
descend on her.
They
and,
do.
Beat
They-
her to a pulp. So good start. She wakes up broken and bloody in a prison cell, and Lucien is there. He snuck in there and uses his healing power to heal her just enough so that she'll be okay, but like not enough so that the guards notice. He's basically like, just don't die, okay? And then he runs off.
Yeah.
She gets bread and water 3 times a day and just sort of sits around until she's finally summoned to the throne room for a little chat. And Amarantha really wants to know her name. She is clearly not named Claire, and so she just keeps asking, and Feyre just keeps refusing. It's like this weird standoff. Rhysand, Amarantha said, not needing to raise her voice to summon him. My heart became a leaden weight as those casual strolling steps sounded.
I just want to say I did not get the riddle. I didn't. I thought it was a plant. I thought it was a poisonous plant. That's what I thought.
From behind me. They stopped when they were beside me, far too close for my liking. Amarantha lifted her brows. Is this the girl you saw at Tamlin's estate? He brushed some invisible fleck of dust off his black tunic before he surveyed me.
Reese likes to do
all
that.
Look alike to me. I forgot to mention, Claire did not just get killed. Claire is like nailed to the wall of the throne room. Her dead body is like hanging from the wall. So anyway, Feyre is still like, I'm not going to tell you my name. So finally, Amarantha just grabs Lucian and is about to torture him.
He does need a lint roller.
Feyre is like, Feyre, my name's Feyre, okay? But we get our riddle. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet, and those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. She sits in her prison cell for 2 days just thinking about it, coming up with nothing because Feyre sucks at riddles. So then it's a full moon and it is showtime. Time for our first task. The throne room has been turned into this weird labyrinth of tunnels. Basically, her first task is to prove her hunting skills. Amarantha heard that Feyre is a very good hunter, so she's like, this one should be easy for you, girl. She gets thrown into the canyon cavernous tunnels, and she starts to hear a little rumbling. The thing that comes out is a giant worm. It's Shai-Hulud, basically. It's coming at her, and
no, it's the worm from SpongeBob, but it's fine.
And she has to like run and try and kill this thing before it kills her. She runs around. It's very exciting. People are watching from above, jeering at her. She is like knee deep in mud trying to run from this thing. And that is when Feyre focuses and learns 2 things. Number 1 being the worm is blind. It's relying on sense of smell. Number 2, there are a ton of bones left over from like whatever the worm had eaten previously that she can possibly use as a tool. All right, she's thinking. She gets to work using those bones. She also covers herself in the mud, and it's not just mud, it's like nasty stuff. So she no longer smells like her, so the worm can't track her, right? And one of the fairies who is, watching from above is like, what's it doing? A deep, elegant voice replied this time, she's building a trap. Rhysand smiled. His violet eyes twinkled. She is getting ready to lure it into the trap. She uses a bone to cut open her hand so that a little bit of blood comes out, and that's what's going to get the worm to come over. All of a sudden she's like, oh shit, where is it? And she hears a voice just go, to your left. Attaboy Lucian. Yeah, it was our boy Lucian who saved her life. She manages to get it into her trap. She definitely broke some bones in the meantime, but she killed the worm. Amarantha obviously is pissed, but somebody in the crowd is happy because out of all of the people in the court, only one of them bet that she would win. So somebody just made a lot of money. So good job,
Wonder who
Feyre.
it would be.
Feyre doesn't really care about that because she looks down at her arm, which is broken, and the bone is sticking out. And so she faints, which is the rest of the book. Feyre spends a lot of it unconscious, so this is about a week later. Feyre is laying in her cell. Her arm is still broken, and she is still covered in the mud that she was covered in during the trial. So she has not bathed. She has a gash, huge ass open wound, and she's covered in mud and feces for a week. She's also being given rotten food. She is pretty sure that she is gonna die of an infection. She has this really bad fever. She is kind of she knows deep in her soul, I'm fading. But then somebody walks in. It's the hottie from the party with the nice voice but a nasty personality. Rhysand is in the room.
Did she say
he had from the party with the nice voice but a nasty personality? Rhysand
nasty
is
personality.
In the room, everybody. Woo-hoo. He is like, hey girl, you made me a lot of money that night. He's the one who bet that she would win. So great. Anyway, he's like, let me see your arm. And Feyre is stubborn, so even though she knows that she's about to die, she's just like, I would literally rather touch a slug. No, thank you. But he doesn't like to be told no, so he just kind of grabs her arm. Her arm is broken, so grabbing it kind of hurts, right? Rhysand says, listen, I'll heal you.
No, he grabs it, but then he breaks it more. I hope she clarifies that.
And Feyre is like, what's it gonna cost me? Like, she's played this game before. 2 weeks every month. 2 weeks of his choosing. Feyre will stay with him at the night court after the trials, assuming she lives, right? If she dies, deal's off.
Yep.
She obviously says no. I believe she also spits on him, but he's like, listen, you are like absolutely going to die of this wound. You have the tiniest chance that your little foxy friend Lucien could somehow find his way back in here and heal you, but he might not come in time. You're about to die. So either take my bargain, I heal you, and you can go live happily ever after with Tamlin if you win, or you just die and Tamlin dies and everybody dies. He's basically like, you don't really have a choice here, girl. Like, come on. Finally, she bargains it down to 1 week and she accepts his offer. He grabs her arm one final time. She blacks out, wakes up, her arm is healed. She's not covered in mud anymore, but she has a new tattoo. All the way down her arm, and like in the middle of her palm there's an eyeball. That wasn't part of the deal, but yeah, she's got a sick tat now. And the next time she sees Rhysand, she's like, you didn't tell me about the tattoo. And Rhysand is just like, oh, you didn't ask. He also hints that Tamlin is going to be pissed at her when he sees it, and she realizes that Rhysand didn't do this to help her. It wasn't like out of the goodness of his.
It was. But okay, we had a discussion about this in Discord. When he grabs her arm, and this is to give him the benefit of the doubt, he grabs her arm. She's clearly pissed that he's there and trying to help her. But he also purposefully breaks it. Like, he purposefully grabs it in a way that it breaks a little more to basically remind her of the situation she's in so that he can heal it. So he does break her arm more. That is, it literally says that like more bones break when he grabs it. And he does that intentionally. And it is because he wants her to accept the bargain so badly, because he obviously wants her to come tonight and fall in love with him. But it is a piece that I like to make very clear.
Heart. He just seems to really hate Tammy and like did this whole thing just to like get another dig in at him, right? So she feels very used. She feels very silly that she was really random scene where she is also forced to do chores. But as she's doing that, this redheaded lady walks up to her, and at first she thinks it's Amarantha, so she's freaked out. But then she's like, it kind of looks like Lucien. And it is. It's Lucien's mom. Yeah. And she was there in the throne room when Amarantha was going to torture Lucien in order to get Feyre to say her name. Yeah. Do you remember this? That's when Feyre broke and was like, no, stop, like, don't hurt him. His mom saw that, and as a thank you, she actually, like, does some magic stuff and cleans the water so that she can clean. Chore is that she has to go into one of the rooms and stupid. So anyway, she's in the lentils from the ash of the fire. I don't know. It's stupid. So anyway, she's in there like trying to get through the soot and stuff. It's another semi-impossible task. And whose room is it? Rhysand's room. He walks in and he's like, can I help you? And she ends up finally asking him about the whole Claire thing. She's like, you remember what I look like, buddy? Like, we met at the party prior when I thought you were just this mysterious hottie. So why did you give Claire's name to Amarantha? Rhysand basically just says like, it's boring down here. I like to play games. Feyre starts peppering him with questions, as she loves to do with everyone, but she's asking him specifically about his powers because he seems to have them still. He like went into her mind, so he still has powers. And she's like, what is this about? Can you shift like Tamlin can? Blah, blah, blah. And that's when he pops out massive bat wings. So yeah, he can shift. He is a bat boy, and we're going to hear about the wings. Boy, are we going to hear about this. And finally, her last question is, do you know the answer to Amarantha's riddle? And Rhysand is literally like, damn, you've got balls to even ask that, girl. Like, no, obviously I can't tell you. Amarantha can put a spell on all of them, like how Tamlin couldn't talk about the curse. He does clean up the ashes for her.
You know, I'm semi-surprised Rhys doesn't be like, well, the answer to the riddle is the reason you're here. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't do that. Like, you could say that at least. And she could be like, what? And then she could think about it. And she's like, well, the answer to the riddle is the reason I'm here. The reason I'm here is because I love Tamlin. It's love. Like, he could have done that, but it's fine. I guess I'm smarter than Rhysand.
Because he was impressed that, you know, she's got big balls. And then to take it one step further, Rhysand
They're
actually
all
goes
impressed
to the
by
guards
that.
and is like, you are not allowed to give her any more chores. Like, you aren't allowed to touch her. Just leave her alone. Like, just let her sit in her cell and rot, okay? Stop being mean. And once again, Sarah J. Maas just cannot stress enough how sexy his voice is. The words caress, erotic, purring, velvet. That's the vibe. Okay, Feyre is alone in her cell for another 4 days until some night court ladies come and take her away. And they start getting her dressed in this like really skimpy dress. Like basically she's wearing nothing.
Yeah, she's got some great comments.
Like that, so she's low-key fighting them when Rhysand walks in and is like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Basically what's going on is Amarantha is throwing some kind of midsummer party, which doesn't make sense because didn't they have the summer solstice a while ago? Anyway, she's having a midsummer party and Rhysand is bringing Feyre. What usual?
I'm gonna fast forward.
Her here alive, right? When he says the rest of her life, kind of sounds like he thinks she's gonna live for a while. And this is where we hit. He's just like, "Oops, I got carried away. My bad." And it has already been a month. And they have this little fight, like they're always snippy with each other, but Rhysand like says something about Tamlin's court fell and like, isn't he weak? And Feyre's kind of like, didn't the night court fall? And that's when we see a little bit of pain in Rhysand's eyes. He's always like teasing and like you can never take him seriously, but he actually looked a little hurt. And even if she hadn't caught that look in his eyes, she could physically feel his sadness. And that's when she realized, ooh, this tattoo is not a normal tattoo. Like she could feel his emotions.
It's not a normal tattoo.
So they head to the party, but Rhysand has a job first. Apparently somebody from the summer court tried to escape and was
I'm gonna fast forward through this.
Maybe Rhysand let some stuff slap. Right? And he's just like, oops, I got carried away. My bad. And he just goes off to the drink table. So
Again, I really hope we see this side of Rhys because it's played off in a way that I think Sarah, let's be honest, Sarah loves Rhys a lot. And I think after this point, well, it's really after a good chunk of ACOTAR that Sarah's like, I'm just going to let Rhys be the mushy gushy guy. No, I like this Rhys. This Rhys that you're questioning his morality. When you, as a returning reader, you actually know what his intention is. But like, you know, I don't know.
We start to think maybe we don't know everything there is to know about this Lord of the Night, lowered into this weird. Amarantha is like, we're gonna practice riddles since you still haven't solved the first one I gave you. Pull the correct two spikes, come down. I pay just for another one. Is about to be impaled, her and Lucien, and so she decides to just pull the one that doesn't hurt her, and she's right. The spikes stop like within centimeters of both of them. And she's free. She passed the second test. She gets out of her little death pod, whatever it was, and she is like shaking, crying, convulsing. This was the closest she's ever felt to death when she hears a voice in her head. The voice says, don't let her see you cry. Stand up. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you break. So she somehow gets up and Rhysand's mind voice, because it's Rhysand, is like, good girl. Now don't look at Tamlin, just stare at her. Now walk away. Chin high, let the crowd part, one step after another. And she finally makes it to her cell. Rhysand disappears from her brain and then she breaks.
She cries.
She is essentially like, I came that fucking close to death in the second trial. There's no way I'm passing the third one. It's over. She's prepared to die. How does he get her to stop crying, you ask? He licks the tears off of her face with his tongue. Yeah. And she's like so disgusted by it that she stops crying. This is a pretty common thing in Sarah J. Maas's writing, is that in order to distract someone from usually sadness or fear, a character will make them have a different strong emotion, so usually anger. So that's what Rhysand does whenever he...
It's true. This was kind of weird, but I wonder if they'll show this in the show, because I think the first time I read it, I must have missed him licking the tears. But the second time I was like, wait, what? Why did he lick the tears? It was so weird.
He doesn't want Feyre to be sad. He tries to get her feeling feisty. He makes fun of her for not being able to read. He's just an asshole in general. But when he leaves, she's not sad anymore. It took me a long while to realize that Rhysand, whether he knew it or not, had effectively kept me from shattering completely. The parties start again, and at this point, Feyre is the one asking for the wine. She's like, I actually really liked that blackout thing. Like, let's keep it going. One day, her night court ladies are helping her get dressed when suddenly they hear someone, shh, and they hide. And Feyre's like, these women are spies. Holy shit. So, yeah, the night court ladies, we don't know whose side they're on, but, I mean, they're probably working for Rhysand, but Feyre's just...
Girl, they were for Rhysand.
Okay, I can jam with this. We overhear that King Hybern is ready to launch a war on the mortal realms. And this is her while. So she's like, okay, we've lost Prythian. And now I'm hearing that Hybern is going to attack the mortal realm. And so I've just lost my family. Like, everything is fucked, basically. And she's sitting in her cell, slowly losing her mind because she has absolutely lost all hope at this point. She hears, of all things, music. Someone is listening to music and it's like trickling into her cell somehow. There was beauty in this music.
Oh, she's playing music.
And goodness. And she literally goes on a trip. Like, this music takes her to like a meadow and then she's flying over a castle. The music was Tamlin's fingers strumming my body. It was the gold in his eyes and the twist of his smile.
How sad for Rhys that she thinks it's Tamlin's music. Anyways.
It was that breathy chuckle and the way that he said those 3 words. It was this I was fighting for, this I had sworn to save. And then the music made a quilt that wrapped around her and warmed her bones. And it was 2 days until her final trial. We have reached the last party of Feyre's life. Woo! And she's just waiting in the throne room. And she is like so tapped out that she's not really paying attention. And she doesn't even realize that Tamlin is standing right next to her. He is standing like real close to her and just kind of like brushes his hand next to her.
This is kind of
creepy. She has to stay really still, right? Like, nobody can see this going on. But he kind of like walks out of the throne room and kind of looks back, and Feyre follows. They somehow both manage to get out of the throne room without being seen, and this is where we get a steamy scene. They figure that these are their like very last moments together, so let's just say they're making it count. But then party pooper Rhysand shows up, and Rhysand basically just starts yelling at Tamlin, and he's like, do you know how much Amarantha would love to see this and use it as an excuse to hurt you? Like, she'll probably kill Lucian now. Like, because she's already going to kill Feyre, right? Why don't you, before Amarantha sees anything, why don't you be a good little High Lord, buckle your belt, and go back to the throne room?
Literally
and
says
to
that.
Feyre's horror, Tamlin listens. He whispers, I love you, and just pieces out. And this is when Rhysand just like lets Feyre have it. He's like, are you stupid? Like, can you imagine what we have risked, you know, if you got caught? And Feyre's like, what do you care? And Rhysand's like, what do I care? What do I care? He's really, you know, these Fae men, let me tell you, drama. But before he can continue,
She's not wrong.
He like looks at the door and then just like pounces on Feyre. He's kissing her all over, right? Getting that paint real messy. And who walks in but Amarantha and Tamlin. We're not sure if Tamlin understands what's happening, but Amarantha sees Feyre and is like, I knew it. These humans. But what we realize is that Rhysand actually was doing this to save Tamlin's ass, or Tamlin and Feyre, because when they were having their little steamy scene, he fucked up all of her paint.
Yes.
So Amarantha could look at Feyre and be like, who were you with? Rhysand wasn't here yet, you know? So Rhysand took that like couple of seconds to violate Feyre, but in a way it saved them. It got Amarantha off the, you know, do you get that? It looks like he was the one who smeared the paint.
It makes sense.
Rhysand tells her, go to your cell, no dancing, go to sleep. Rhysand does come to her cell that night to vent, and Feyre has been trying,
in my opinion, he was a little drunk at this point too,
to get the taste of his lips off of hers for hours.
Hot.
Rhysand admits that the rumors are true, where you know how Lucian kept calling him Amarantha's whore. So apparently Amarantha, as well as having him as like her personal torture person, she also asks him to do some services for her in the bedroom, sort of thing. Feyre is like, why are you telling me this? And all of his swagger and nastiness was gone. Rhysand says, because I'm tired and lonely and you're the only person I can talk to without putting myself at risk. He tells her that if she breaks the curse tomorrow, because tomorrow is her third and final trial, if she breaks the curse, Tamlin's power is going to be so great that he could potentially kill Amarantha. Like, that's what he has to do. He can't hesitate. Curse breaks, kill Amarantha, right? And if he kills Amarantha, everyone will be free. Because remember, Feyre only bargained for Tamlin and the Spring Court to be free. But if Tamlin zaps our mean little lady over here, everyone will be free from her wrath.
I actually read a fanfic where instead of saying like it, because I think the way they word it in this book, it clearly indicates it has to be Tamlin. But I read a fanfic where they said the High Lord. So instead of it being like the High Lord she loved, I think is the way it was worded, and it ended up being Rhys. That was good. It was a good twist.
So that's why Rhysand is helping her so much. He's like, you are going to help all of us, my friend. Yeah. And that's also why he's been especially picking on Tamlin. Because the madder that Tamlin is, the more power he's going to use. Yeah. So if Rhysand is like, actually like,
he's like revving him up
in a weird way. So test her in order to like,
I'm going to get to the third trial.
In order to get rid of this. You didn't need to bargain with me. You could have demanded every single week of the year, and I would have said yes. A half smile appeared on his sensuous lips. I know, he said, and vanished. All right, final task. Let's do it, people. We're powering through. Amarantha, we're in the throne room. Amarantha says, any last words? Feyre, I love you. No matter what she says about it, no matter if it's only my insignificant human heart, even when they burn my body, I love you. He didn't react. He didn't even grip the arms of his throne. I suppose that was his way of enduring it, even if it made my chest cave in. Even in front of her with hoods over their faces, but one by one they take the hoods off so that Feyre has to look them in the eye as she does it. So the first one is obviously crying, screaming, begging for his life, but she does it. She stabs him right in the heart. She goes on to the second one, which is an older woman, and she is just praying. And she seems to be kind of ready. And she kind of looks at Feyre and she's just like, you know, do it fast. I understand. And so Feyre kills the second one. The third and final Fae, the hood is ripped off. And who is kneeling before her?
Tamlin.
This is fucked up. And at this point, even Rhysand's face is pale. Like, he didn't expect this either. Feyre's options are essentially kill Tamlin, but his court and Feyre herself will be saved. Or, if Feyre kills herself, him and his court will be Amarantha's slaves. And then she and the King of Hybern are going to take over the mortal realm. So she is very stuck. But then, Feyre does the damn thing. She uses that beautiful brain of hers that's been missing for a lot of this book. Remember when Alice told her to listen, to hear the things that come through her ears? Yes. Right? She starts replaying every conversation that's gone on in this book. Because of the curse, Tamlin and Lucien couldn't outright tell her things. But if they happened to leave a door open and she happened to eavesdrop, so she comes over every word. And here's what she realizes. Amarantha wouldn't kill the one person she wants, right? She wants Tamlin. So she's either really sure Feyre won't do it, or she's got some kind of trick up her sleeve. Number 2, Lucien and the Adder both said something weird to Tamlin, that he has a heart of stone. Lucien said it jokingly like, man, for a guy with a heart of stone, you're sure warming up. And the Adder said something similar, right? Which could just be a common fairy turn of phrase. But Feyre's also like, maybe I can't kill him. Maybe his heart is actually stone. And she's like, in all those times that like I fell asleep on his shoulder and we've had all of our little like steamy moments, I've actually never heard his heart beat. Meanwhile, it is like dead quiet in this throne room while she's doing this like 4D mental chess with Amarantha, right? But something must have sparked on her face, and Tamlin can kind of tell that she's had a little epiphany, and he just kind of looks at her, tilts his chin up a little bit, and that's all the invitation she needs. "I love you," she said, and stabbed him in the heart.
He should have died right
The
there.
ash dagger goes straight through, cracks bones, gushes blood, all the good stuff. And then it hits a rock hard heart. She was right. Tamlin's heart is stone, and she stabbed it like she needed to. The trial only said that she had to stab them in the heart. It didn't say that she had to kill them, technically. So, boom. She pulls out the dagger and is kind of letting Tamlin heal. But when she turns to Amarantha, the queen is like, "Yeah, I never said when I was going to free you. I said that if you broke the riddle, I would instantaneously end the curse, but I never said anything about like when I would free you after the trials." And then she just loses her shit. She is like, "I'm gonna kill you, Feyre. Do you think you deserve a High Lord, you nasty human worm?" She then like uses her magic to pick Feyre up and is like tossing her around like a rag doll and stuff. It's not cute. Rhysand even tries to jump into the action to help or maybe kill Amarantha while she's distracted. And Amarantha throws him across the room into the wall. He blacks out. And Feyre is being so brutally injured that she keeps passing out from the pain, but then Amarantha uses the magic to keep her awake. So she's conscious for all of this. And Amarantha is like, "I'll stop if you say that you don't love Tamlin." For a split second, when Rhysand is thrown against the wall and kind of blacks out, Feyre like sees through his eyes. I guess their like weird connection, that tattoo, she can see herself on the ground from
Girl, it ain't the tattoo.
his vantage point. So that's a weird thing. Next, the queen makes Feyre mentally live through all of her worst memories, like a supercut.
I
Tamlin
forgot
is
about
now
that.
awake and saying, "Please just stop." But it's too far gone. Feyre can barely breathe because I'm pretty sure she broke all of her ribs or something like that. But even though Feyre's lungs aren't working, her brain is still going. Blood filled my mouth, warm as it dribbled out between my lips. I gazed at Tamlin's masked face one last time. "Love," I breathed, the world crumbling into a blackness with no end. A pause in Amarantha's magic. "The answer to the riddle," I got out, choking on my own blood, "is love." Tamlin's eyes went wide before something forever cracked in my spine. When Feyre can see again, it's not through her own eyes. She's looking at the scene from a different vantage point, and she can see herself on the ground, and her head is just at a wrong angle. Her neck has been broken. Amarantha is standing there looking shocked, not because Feyre died, because we're pretty sure that's what she wanted, but because Feyre broke the curse. Tamlin wastes no time. Rhysand, winding him up probably paid off, because within the blink of an eye, Tamlin crosses the room and bites out Amarantha's throat.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, she's dead. Feyre takes attendance, and she realizes that she's seeing out of Rhysand's eyes again. He is standing back, and so she can just kind of watch as, Tamlin and everybody run over to her. Tamlin is screaming, trying to pick her up, and but then something
it's not
weird
good.
happens. All of the High Lords start to come up to her body and dropping like glitter on her or something.
Yeah.
Each and every one of them. When Rhysand finally steps
I don't remember
forward,
what they call it.
He says something along the lines of like, "For what she did, we bestow the gift of our predecessors," and drops his little glitter bomb on her as well. And then Tamlin is the last one. He pets her very bloody head, whispers, "I love you," and puts his last bit of glitter in her heart. Feyre is zapped out of Rhysand's head, and now she can see, but she is like in some kind of pool of darkness. She's sort of in limbo, and she can like look up from this dark tunnel and see the High Lords looking down at her, but it's very far away. But then she sees this little golden string, and it's tying her to the world. She uses that string to climb her way back up.
Okay, if Avery's watching, that's your indication that you're right.
To her body. She wakes up surrounded by fae, but something is strange. Number one, she's kind of glowing. Number 2, she sits up really fast and is really strong. So yay, her neck isn't broken, but also like her body's acting kind of funny. She can smell better. She can see better. Oh no. Oh yes. Feyre is Faye, baby. It happened. So Tamlin stands behind her and explains that this was the only way to save her, to make her Faye, and she's not just Faye, she's high Faye, all right? She looks around, she starts to have a panic attack because she's surrounded by dead bodies. They didn't just kill Amarantha, they killed everybody else who was on Amarantha's side. She's also having a panic attack because she killed some of them. 2 of those fairies, she stabbed them in the heart and they were just innocent fairies. So she's having a rough time of it. But then fingers find her chin and she's turned to face someone she's never fully seen before. Tamlin's mask is on the ground and you guessed it, he looks exactly how she dreamed. He smiled at me, his entire face alight with that quiet joy I have come to love so dearly, and he brushed my hair aside. What I had done to get to this moment, to be standing here. In a minute, in an hour, in a day, I would think about that, force myself to face it. I put a hand on Tamlin's heart, and a steady beat echoed into my bones. So this should be our happily ever after moment, right?
No.
Well, as happy as Feyre is that she saved Tamlin and like the world, the weight of those 2 innocent fae that she killed is like that under the mountains to get her to talk about it, but she's just a moment alone together, and Tamlin and Feyre finally get their moment alone together, and there is some good steam. This is what they
I forget, is that descriptive or not? Because I've clearly blocked it out of my head.
Worked for. This is what Feyre almost died for, right? So they're finally together. So she wakes up a little bit after that, and she like feels a little tug, like she's being pulled towards the balcony. Riri is out there, wings out, waiting for her. He's just like, you know, I just wanted to say bye. I'll see you at the night court soon, because remember, they still have that bargain. And she does actually try and thank him for helping with the second trial, because she knew it was him, you know? And he's basically like, you know, I didn't want you to fight or die alone. And that really sticks with Feyre, because remember, with that fairy that she comforted while it was dying, she really feels like that. She never wants to die alone. And he's like, so how is it being high fae, you know? Welcome to the club. And she's like, yeah, it's dope, but I wish we could have switched out my heart or something, because I'm feeling way too many human emotions right now. Like fae, because they're immortal, they feel everything, but like such a big deal. But to Feyre, it's like she is shaken to her core. And Rhysand says, be glad of your human heart, Feyre. Pity those who don't feel anything at all. And then he gets ready to teleport or whatever, like peace out of here. And he turns around to be like, all right, see ya. And he just freezes. His eyes lock on mine, wide and wild, and his nostrils flared. Shock, pure shock splashed across his features at whatever he saw on my face, and he stumbled back a step. Actually stumbled. What is Feyre began, but he disappeared into the crisp air. So Rhysand literally did a like, which, you know, he's Mr. Suave. So Feyre's just like, okay.
Cool.
After that, Tamlin and Feyre make their way back to the spring court, and she realizes that she's never actually thought about what happens next. Now that they're all free, what do they do? You know? She's still really broken by the killings, but she had tomorrow, because there would be a tomorrow and an eternity to face what I had done, to face what I shredded into pieces inside myself while under the mountain. But for now, for today, let's go home, I said, and took his hand. Baby. All right, that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. This book was about 400 something pages.
Yep.
The books continuously get longer. So I am working on the second one right now, but it's taken a lot out of me. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. There are definitely going to be a lot more characters in the next books. I never actually noticed kind of how few recurring characters there were in this book. But because everyone was under the mountain with Amarantha, we really only had Tamlin and Lucian most of the time. So it's going to be quite different.
Okay, well, there we go. We watched it, guys. I have to say, she did a great job recapping it. Like, I was expecting, usually, when you get a recap like that, it's not 100% accurate. It's just not, and that's fine. And so I was expecting to be like, well, actually, it went something like this. But she was very accurate, and I noticed she had notes. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, I was looking down at her iPad every once in a while. Like, those were her notes. Those weren't, like, those weren't like from the book. Like those were clearly notes from her. So like I appreciate that. But I have to give her, she really killed it. I mean, she's clearly knows what she's doing and she's funny. So I really appreciate that. I mean, this video almost has 1 million views and it's from 7 months ago. So like, you know, if you watched any of these plot bits all the way through, our connection is stronger now than a mating bond. P.S. It took me the whole video to realize how few characters are in this book. When I tell you the second is 3 times as long. Is it really? Because I'm like, oof, we might have to skip more of it. Let's see. How long is the Mist and Fury one? Oh, there it is. Oof. Oh, she did 2 parts of it. Okay, we'll have to watch part 1 and part 2 separately, but we'll leave that for March. But I really enjoyed it. I thought she did a great job. I forget how boring ACOTAR is. And I kind of remember reading ACOTAR and being somewhat bored. And again, this is maybe my bias opinion, but I feel like that's what makes Throne of Glass better. Like book 1 to comparing Throne of Glass book 1 to ACOTAR book 1. I think Throne of Glass is a better reread than ACOTAR is, but I think Mist and Fury is superior reread to anything up until Heir of Fire. So like I have to give ACOTAR its credit. But she did make the first book much more entertaining. So if you don't want to read it, you don't. But I do recommend rereading it, especially if you're looking for crossover things, because Avery has found some great ones. And I do know that there are some good little crossover nuggets. So it's a win. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's 10:37 at night, and I still have to do part 2 of the Kingdom of Ash playlist. So you're probably not going to get the playlist until Friday. Just as a heads up. Sorry, we'll probably move it again to Friday. So I'm not going to say anything about it because I always feel bad when I do this. I'm just going to move it to Friday. It's just going to get magically moved to Friday. So if anyone wonders, that's what's about to happen. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed her recap. And yeah, I think it was worth it. So thanks for hanging out with me. To give you guys some updates on a few things. So we have Saturday, we have a D&D character building night. We're going to do the Friday. We're going to make the Kingdom of Ash listen party. Avery and I are also going to record Kingdom of Ash part 1 and part 2. And then Avery's texting me right now. She's like, Sarah. I'm like, I know, Avery. And then what else do we have? Kingdom of Ash listen party. We have the Valentine's Day Zoom session on Sunday. And I think that's it. And then next week we start, I think next week is our ACOTAR live. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure it is. Let me look. Hold on. Let's see. I think it is. Yeah, next week is our ACOTAR live. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm like ready to talk about ACOTAR. I'm ready to move on. We're almost done with Throne of Glass. I'm like ready to pull it. So anyways, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely, today's Wednesday, and I will see you all later.